All right, here we go. Here we go. Monday night stream, baby. Let's go live on Instagram as well. And here we are. We're live on Instagram. We're live on YouTube. And we're going to get medicated. Welcome to your Medication Live, guys. It's Monday night. And I got a few things we're going to go through. And we're going to take a look at a couple of things. We got Trump
and the United States.
in Japan.
署名者は総理大臣とドナルド・J. トランプ、アメリカ合衆国大統領です。The signatories are Her Excellency Ms. Takashi Sanae, Prime Minister of Japan, and the Honorable Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America. デリゲーションの方はお座りください。The members of the delegation are kindly requested to be seated. まず最初の文章でございますけれども
Wow, imagine she just literally a few days ago became Prime Minister of Japan. She's the first female and conservative Prime Minister of Japan. And she, within days, has a sit down with Trump.
合意の実施、日米同盟の新たな黄金時代に向けての署名です。First document is Implementation of the agreement toward a new golden age for the Japan-U.S. alliance.
Wow. Look at that. The new golden age of the Japan-U.S. Golden Alliance. Look at that. Here we go, guys. The new U.S.-Japan Golden Alliance. And away we go. Holy cow. On her, literally like, I don't know, when she becomes sworn in as Prime Minister, what is her first or second day on the job? She's probably like her second or third day on the job. Already signing a golden alliance with President Trump. Wow. Look at that. Look at that. And by the way, she's a car enthusiast. She's the first female prime minister of Japan. She's first conservative female, of course, Prime Minister of Japan, and she's a car enthusiast. Jen, what's up? Hello, hello. I had a good time.
Next
I got pictures.
United States-Japan Framework for Security for securing the supply of critical minerals and rare earths through mining and processing.
Rare earth minerals. The first Prime Minister of Japan, first female conservative Prime Minister of Japan, just got sworn in or just got elected a few days ago, already having a sit down and signing agreements with President Trump for the new U.S.-Japan Golden Alliance they just signed. And now rare earth minerals. Wow. So cool. Look at that. And then I got Tucker Carlson too we're going to look at with Nick Fuentes, of all people. Wow. That's going to be fun. Look at that.
以上をもちまして署名式を終了いたします。
All right. We got a couple things. I'm just gonna forward through some of the stuff.
開始が遅れました。
1 point lead, and we really enjoyed the match.
でまずトランプ大統領また昨年まで
Hospitality.
Okay, we'll go to the next one because I want to see Tucker Carlson. You know what's funny is I get even hit for copyright on our own U.S. music.
All right,
Let's
I bet
see
you're
this.
wondering, has Kamala made a decision yet?
Have you made a decision yet?
No, I have not.
But you say in your book, I'm not done.
That is correct. I am not done. I have lived my entire career a life of service, and it's in my bones. And there are many ways to serve. I've not decided yet what I will do in the future beyond what I am doing right now.
Wow.
Yeah, she's not done yet. Something she always says at last call. Question is, how will she ever know? She dropped out before the first primary, somehow became vice president, then was humiliated by Trump. She doesn't know when she's had enough. Just ask the bartender at Chili's. Then there's Gavin, who says he'll consider a White House run.
I'm looking forward to who
What's up, Random?
presents themselves in 2028 and who meets that moment. And that's the question for the American people.
Is it fair to say, after the 2026 midterms, you're going to give it serious thought?
Yeah, I'd be lying otherwise. I'd just be lying. And I can't do that.
I'd be lying, and I can't do that. Well, since you can't lie, what tequila were you nursing while the Pacific Palisades burned? And what was it like banging your campaign manager's wife? Of course, he's just waiting for us to forget that his state looks like an overturned porta potty. But with fake crime statistics and fake boobs, why not have a fake governor? In an interview last week, Newsom painted himself as a latchkey kid struggling to make ends meet.
It was also about paying the bills, man. And it was just like hustling.
What?
And so I was out there kind of raising myself, turning on the TV, started, just getting obsessed, sitting there with the Wonder Bread and 5 stacks of,
Hey, it's like the White Stack Bob story.
Come on.
What the hell? What's up, Matt? Good to see you, man. I went to a surprise birthday party. It was good. It was fun. Saw some of my good friends, and I scooted out of there quick to make it on the live with you guys.
He watched one episode of Good Times. It's a nice story, except that it's about as flimsy as the drawstring on J.B. Pritzker's moo-moo. Because while Gavin was hustling, he was featured in a Children of the Rich article detailing his ties to billionaire oil man Gordon Getty. His dad worked for the Gettys, and the same Getty fortune bankrolled Gav's first business venture, a winery. This guy owned a wine shop at 24 years old, back when yours truly was still doing nude modeling to pay for alcohol. Those pictures follow me everywhere. So the man didn't hustle for rent, he hustled the truth. It's like when Hollywood celebs say they lived out of a car before they made it. They don't tell you that the car was a Mercedes Maybach and was parked in front of their parents' mansion in Malibu. He wasn't even one of those poor kids. Hell, poor kids don't have pet otters like Gavin did. Gavin actually had a pet otter.
What?
Which also means he had pet fish to feed said otter. But he's lucky he started from privilege. He never had a real job. Then once he gained power, he counts on Wikipedia editors to make him working class. And then you count on nobody bothering to look it all up, which is a bad strategy in this day of Grok and ChatGPT and a public who no longer believes anything coming from the media.
Yeah, guys, I got Tucker and Nick Fuentes coming up right after this, so hang tight because this is going to be lit in a second.
But the entire party depends on ignorance as a survival mechanism. Whether it's White House renovations, Gav's fake origin story, Joe Biden's health cover-up, everything the Dems deny can be exposed with something as simple as a Google search. The days of a journalist having to do a deep dive for 3 days to find the truth, that's over. Hell, I can discover the truth between sets on my thigh master. But this party believes their supporters won't bother to check. And in politics, that's easy because who wants to look up anything? Unless it's a celebrity's nudes or the next time I'm in town, or if you're a super fan, both. But that brings us to the socialist from Queens who believed the worst outcome of 9/11 was Islamophobia, citing his aunt who stopped using the subway.
I want to use this moment to speak to the Muslims of New York City. I want to speak to the memory of my aunt. Who stopped taking the subway after September 11th because she did not feel safe in her hijab.
Oh.
Why does he talk like she died in the subway or something?
Poor thing. I don't know about you, but I think worse things happened on and since 9/11. And she not using the subway, she was just ahead of us. Not riding the subway is what people do to avoid getting murdered by people her nephew protects. And not only that, it wasn't even her freaking aunt, but actually a deceased distant cousin, he clarified on Monday. Probably never happened, let's be honest. But once again, here's where Google becomes the left's kryptonite. In 25 years since, I've come across 3 murders directly
his deceased 20th cousin
attributed to anti-Arab hatred. Meanwhile, a study by the Department of Justice estimates that 23 to 27 honor killings occur annually in the U.S. But Zoran expects you to express complete empathy for people like this relative, but never the same empathy for victims of October 7th or crime in general. But Dems are more interested in seeking votes than seeking the truth. And they assume their supporters will never check the paper trail. That's the point. The past doesn't matter. The truth doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is that you don't look it up. Let's welcome tonight's...
All right, guys. You guys ready for Nick Fuentes? You guys ready for Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlson?
Nick Fuentes, thank you for doing this.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I wanted to meet you. I've heard about you.
I've heard about you.
So, well, thank you. I want to understand what you believe, and I want to give you a chance in a minute to just lay it out, not what you're pivoting against.
They got the bass way up on their mic, on their mixer and their sound and all that. So whoever's dialed that in is on heavy bass.
Which are a lot of the same thing. You know, I agree with you on some of the things you're pivoting against for sure. But what do you affirmatively believe? So
he's got the same mics, and I could do the same thing with the bass on this, but I don't think that's a little heavy.
I want to stand back and let you explain it. But first, I want to understand how you got.
And I think Tucker doesn't need to put the Tucker thing on the bottom of the mic here. You know, they have a plate you can put whatever you want down here. I could print something and put medication on there or something, but. I think the TCN
to where you are, how you became Nick Fuentes. So here's,
you see that on his mic?
This is my understanding of your life arc, and tell me if I'm wrong. You show up at Boston University. You grew up in a suburb of Chicago, kind of working class, western suburb, and you show up at Boston University in the fall of 2016 at the height of the battle between Trump and Hillary. It's like this kind of pivot point in history. And you show up with a MAGA hat and you have a Trump hat and you have like basically off the shelf Republican views.
Yes.
And so describe what the views that you had then and then describe what happened. So describe what the views that you had. Libertarian economics.
Yeah, so when I was in high school, I was very political. I was reading a lot of the libertarian stuff, Austrian school, Chicago school, economic type literature, because that's what was popular at the time. If you went
economic type literature
online in the mid-Earlian stuff, Austrian stuff. Yeah, so when I was in high school, I was very political. I was reading a lot of the libertarian stuff, Austrian school, Chicago school, economic type literature, because that's what was popular at the time. If you went online in the mid-early 2010s, that's all the conservative content there really was. That was the most extremely online type
libertarian
stuff.
Economics.
Well, yeah, basically kind of the remnant of the Ron Paul revolution.
Yes.
The Young Americans for Liberty, PragerU, which kind of skews a little more, I guess, conservative, but very basic small government, individualism, libertarian type stuff.
So you watch PragerU videos?
Oh, yeah. I was in the Prager Force.
What's that?
It's a Facebook group for college kids, and they promote the PragerU videos.
Wow.
To the college students and high school students.
So you really were a product of the moment.
Absolutely.
And how'd you feel about Trump?
Well, initially, I didn't like Trump. When the primary started in 2015, I considered him to be a statist.
Yeah.
Which sounds so ridiculous now.
No, a lot of people thought that.
Yeah. And I was a libertarian, so I saw him as a big government, 1990s liberal. When he was asked about healthcare, he said, well, we'll take care of everybody. And I said, I'm a Rand Paul guy, Ted Cruz guy. Those were kind of my people back in 2015.
You like Ted Cruz?
I was a cruise missile.
Does Cruz know that?
I don't think so, no.
Damn, look at Miss Medication made me a beautiful fillet, dude. Holy cow, look at this. Look at the butter on top. Look at this thing. Look at this thing. Damn. Hold on.
Hey.
Oh, it's on her now. There you go.
We're on mute, I'm sure.
No, we're not on mute.
Hey, we're.
Damn, look at that.
Nobody wants to see food.
They don't want to see food, huh? Watch out real quick. Let me see. Hold on.
It's bleeding.
Is it bleeding? Oh, there you go. Look at that. Piece of butter on top. That's ghee butter, guys. That's a fillet, bro. That's a fillet with some ghee butter on top of it. And mushrooms. Holy cow. Look at that. Damn. Here we go, guys. Here we go. Rub that butter on it. Haha. Whoops.
Libertarian. So I saw him as a big government, 1990s liberal. When he was asked about healthcare, he said, well, we'll take care of everybody. And I said, I'm a Rand Paul guy, Ted
I'm in Southern California.
Cruz guy. Those were kind of my people back in 2015.
You like Ted Cruz?
I was a cruise missile.
Does Cruz know that?
I don't think so, no. I was actually on his campaign.
You were on the Ted Cruz campaign?
I don't know if I was on the campaign, but I door knocked in a little village in Chicago, in McKinley Park, for Ted Cruz.
No way.
In the Illinois primary.
Did he write you a thank you note?
No, I didn't get a thank you. He lost, so I guess.
Yeah, he did. He did in a very humiliating way. Wow, that's amazing. So what happened?
So,
what's up, State Line?
I, like everybody else in 2016, went through this ideological awakening. And first, I shifted to Trump. And the first realization that I had is it started in 2016, actually, because the primaries, started in 15, around April or May, I think was the first announcements. And I had very negative feelings about Trump. And like I said, pro Rand Paul, pro Cruz. But when the actual Iowa caucus happened and the primaries began, I saw that Trump was dominating. And every night in the Super Tuesday, when they had all the big contests, one after the other, I remember the media was furious that he was winning one after the other. And I remember thinking to myself, like, structurally, if I'm a libertarian or a conservative and we want to change the country, we have to win elections. If you want to win elections, you have to bypass the media. I sort of had this realization that the media was really standing in the way. They were the problem. And I had this realization that all the conservatives and Republicans up to that point were afraid to take on the media. They, like Mitt Romney, would cower before them and were so apologetic and so weak. And so initially I said, I actually don't ideologically agree with Trump at all, but he will destroy the liberal media, or at least their monopoly on thought and opinion.
Yes.
And then a breakthrough can occur. So that was kind of the first hump. And I said, I could get behind Trump because he's a winner. He'll win for our side. And that was kind of the first big thing. And then as I listened to him more and more, his speeches and his rhetoric, I started to think about immigration.
Which you hadn't really considered before?
Never. And the reason why is because I was from a 95% white suburb. So the diversity had not really reached my corner of Chicago yet. Me and my family, not so much my family, they grew up in the city, but growing up in the suburbs, I was insulated from that. So it was just not even, it's actually, you're going to love this. I don't know if I've ever even said this on an interview before. I was listening to Mark Levin's show. This goes to show how normie I was.
Actually?
I listen to him every day.
You listen to Mark Levin every day?
In high school, yes.
Wow.
I was a fan. I loved his show. And I actually liked how he was kind of obnoxious and mean to his callers.
Yeah.
Vicious. And I liked that. I thought that was funny. But I'll never forget one show. He goes live and he says, America's becoming a majority non-white country. Does anybody think that's a good idea? And I was thinking to myself, yeah, that actually doesn't sound so good. I didn't really even think that America's becoming majority minority like that.
Wait, so you were radicalized on race by Mark Levin?
Yes.
Are you making that up? Or that's
a real story.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm. He planted the seed at least. And then I saw a graphic on 4chan or Twitter, and I'm sure you've seen something similar. It said, this is what the map looks like, the electoral map. If only men vote, if only women vote, if only whites vote, if only non-whites vote. And it became very obvious what the electoral problem is. It's demographics. These immigrants are coming here. They're going to turn Texas blue like they turned California blue.
Yeah.
Eventually, yeah. Eventually, California's major blue, and we're pretty much, unless something major happens, I'm in California. We're going to be blue as blue can be.
I saw it happen.
Yeah. And, you look at even the opinion polls. These people don't believe in free speech.
And with redistricting that they're putting in place right now, it's going to be like insanely, it's going to be completely skewed towards blue. And there's nothing any of us can do about it.
Don't believe in the Constitution, the Second Amendment. As a libertarian, the things that are, and as American, things that are important to you, they don't understand these things. And so I said, that's another political obstacle. You've got the media, you've got immigration. So I'm thinking like, well, we're going to vote for Ted Cruz. He's going to be the constitutionalist. We'll vote for Rand Paul. He'll be the libertarian. But what stands in the way of political power for us? It's the media and it's immigration. So I said, well, we got to get Trump to beat the media, build the wall, deport the illegals. And once we set the country straight, then we can actually have our constitutional republic back. That was kind of the idea. And that's the mindset that I had going into college.
Amazing. So then what happened?
So I go to college and I'm just, at that point, a huge Trump supporter. And you got to understand, for me, for my generation, so I was 18. I turned 18 in August 2016. And to us,
That's
Trump...
amazing.
Yeah. Well, because we're like the first generation that was influenced by Trump coming of age in that moment.
No, I say it's amazing because when you're living in something, you don't appreciate its full significance. But to be 18... in August of 2016. So this really is, as you're forming your views and
That's
really
wild.
yourself.
Yes.
In the middle of this. We'll admit that we are not the most disciplined snackers. When the pantry calls, we answer. It can be cruel, but first order. If you don't feel like ordering online.
People loved that and could not be stumped. And so we hype, like Teflon Don, like he could go into any scenario and win. Like he was unstoppable, unflappable. Nobody could score points on him. He just seemed like, they said you can't stump the Trump. Like he could not be stumped. And so he just had this aura of inevitability, invincibility. And I loved that. And so I went to Boston University. I got on campus in September and I was wearing my MAGA hat everywhere, in the dining hall, walking down the street. And it's a city campus. So you're walking down Commonwealth Avenue and, you're in the city of Boston, which is super liberal. And at that time, it's different than it was now. People were getting fired for wearing MAGA hats. People were getting punched in the face. It was like being a Trump supporter was out there actually back then. It was controversial. It was controversial everywhere, not even, just in liberal Boston. But so I was wearing my hat everywhere and I was just getting accosted constantly. in the dining hall, people would come up and yell in my face. Some black girl in a hijab ran up to me and said, you know what you're supporting? You're racist. This. And I'm trying to get my pizza, I'm trying to get my oatmeal or whatever at the dining hall. This was happening constantly. And so I was going then on Twitter, and I had a small Twitter account with my real name and face, and I had, maybe 200 followers. And I'm posting about my experiences. And I caught the attention of a lot of people on campus for wearing the hat, for posting on Twitter. And they found my Twitter.
You've only been there like a month?
Less, weeks, maybe 3 weeks. This is starting to kick up. And I catch the attention of my peers, and they start going at me on Twitter and giving me death threats. We're going to kill you. How dare you? If I see you, I'm going to beat your ass, that kind of thing. And this is my first experience with this. Now we're all kind of desensitized to it, but that was my first run-in with this intensity from the left. So I file a police report. I get real nervous. And, when you're a student, you can't really avoid other people. You're in a dorm room. Exactly. You're in the, so you're vulnerable. And anyway, long story short, so one of these guys from the campus libertarian group, Young Americans for Liberty, he reaches out to me and says, hey, I'm not going to say his name, but he goes, I go to a school in Boston. I'm from YAL. He said, and I'd like to set up a debate with you and one of these people that's been giving you a hard time on campus because they were doing a lot of events. He said, is that something you're interested in? I said, absolutely. And so he goes around and he asks some of the bigger people that are antagonizing me on Twitter, and everybody says no. And he goes, yeah, no one's going for it. I said, well, can you try again? Can you? And so he finds one guy, and it turns out to be the student body president of the whole university.
It'll be you.
Yeah, the senior, this liberal douchebag progressive. And he's the student body president of the student government there. And so we set up the debate. It was about a week before the actual election. So I think it was end of October, beginning of November. And they hold it in this auditorium in the center of the campus. And like 300 people show up.
Hey, CSS, I don't know what you mean. You said never heard, in the chat, you said, no troll here, honest question. Never heard of Nick Fuentes speak, only heard him quoted. We're learning about Nick Fuentes every day. He's a little Tim Dillon, if you know what I mean. I don't know what you mean.
So it turns into like this huge, and they're all liberal. They all hate my guts. They're heckling me the whole time. They're yelling at me. We do this debate about Trump versus Hillary. And so I'm there and I'm pro-Trump, and I say, I think Trump's going to win. And I'm straight up like ripping the Ben Shapiro talking points. I'm saying, it's got everything to do with culture and nothing to do with race, and diversity's a problem and all this. And I decisively win the debate. It's like not even close. The debate wraps up, and this girl who I think I had talked to her on Twitter once or twice comes running up to the stage after the debate.
Mac is saying Nick Fuentes, he got attacked at his house. Yes, that happened a little while back. Someone came to his door with a weapon and with two weapons, like a bow and a gun. Yeah.
And it's Cassie Dillon. And at this time, she's a fellow at Daily Wire, Ben Shapiro's company. And like I said, I barely knew her. And she comes running up and she says, oh my gosh, I live streamed this debate on Periscope on Twitter. She said, and 30,000 people watched it, and you have like 5 job offers. You did incredible. I said, wow, I don't know what to say. That's great. She goes,
you're 18 years old.
Yes. So it's like happening very quickly for me, And she goes, do you want to do a post-game interview after the debate? I said, sure. And so she asked me about how I thought the debate went and what my views are and things like that. And, very normal stuff. And then at the end, she says, I just got back from doing study abroad in Israel. She goes, and it was amazing. Would you ever take a trip to Israel? And I said, no, I think I got everything I need right here in America. And she goes, oh, okay. And she wraps up the interview. And that was a little bit of foreshadowing. And this begins a relationship, not a romantic relationship, but we become friends and we start talking. And she's plugged in, like I said, at Daily Wire. She's talking to people at Right Side Broadcasting Network, the college Republicans. I start to develop this friendship with her. And over time, she lands me this show on Right Side Broadcasting Network. And in this time, I'm really starting to lean into America first. I'm becoming more pro-Trump as time goes on. And what really stood out to me was Trump's inaugural address in January 17th. So this was just a couple months later. And in Trump's inaugural, he says famously, a new vision will govern our land. It's going to be only America first, America first. And I said, that's me. Like, that's what I believe. Yeah. I'm an American nationalist.
Me too.
Fully at this point, not even a conservative. And there was one thing that happened just before that that really struck me as strange. And I've told this story before. I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but suffice.
I would consider myself an American nationalist too. But I know that the extreme people on the left will take that and will think like some kind of Nazi thing. But no, I'm an America first. For sure, I'm America first.
To say Barack Obama in the lame duck period. So the Democrats lost the election. He's on his way out. There's a resolution in the Security Council condemning the settlements in the West Bank in Israel. And typically, the U.S. delegation will veto those resolutions condemning Israel. Well, Obama's on his way out. He's got nothing to lose. So the U.S. delegation abstains from the resolution, and it passes. And Fox News and all the pro-Israel conservatives are calling him an anti-Semite. They're saying he hates Jews. He's an anti-Semite. He hates Israel. And I saw that, and it struck me as strange because it seemed hypocritical. It seemed like how when conservatives would critique anything about race, we got called racist, or anything about feminism, we got...
Nlock Flick says, not gonna lie, in the chat, he says, not gonna lie, I subscribe to say American nationalism is a terrifying idea. Love to learn more about that. Why would that be a terrifying idea?
Got called sexist. All Obama did was uphold U.S. policy on the West Bank that we've had since '67, which is...
Nlock says, I love the Republic, but I place the Republic above nation.
We don't support the settlements. I said, how is it anti-Semitic to just be consistent on our U.S. foreign policy? Like I said, which is a Republican-Democrat consensus. And I got to...
Sorry for keep pausing it, but David in the chat says, yeah, why would... He didn't finish this. He says, yeah, why would be extremely proud of the nation that you are from and live in?
Attacked for this. I wrote a big article about this. I tweeted about it. I tweeted to Ben Shapiro. I said, I've never seen anything on the Daily Wire that's actually critical of Israel. And he quote tweets me. And at this time, I have 1,000 followers on Twitter.
How old are you?
I'm 18. I'm a freshman.
Still a freshman in college, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And this is even before I started my show. And I don't know, I probably got 100 likes on this tweet. It wasn't a viral tweet. He quote tweets me and says, to accuse a Jew of dual loyalty is the surest sign of anti-Semitism. And this is how it sort of begins. And I see this tweet. And by the way, that was on Christmas Eve in 2016.
He immediately called you an anti-Semite.
Mm-hmm. So I'm driving.
Nlock Fliss says, call me Jeffersonian. A man's nation is not a set of lands and borders, but a principle and patriotism. And patriotism is loyalty to that principle. Yeah, we do live in a constitutional republic, that's for sure.
To Christmas Eve Mass with my family, and I see on Twitter the notification comes up, Ben Shapiro quote tweets me, calling me an anti-Semite. And I was like, what is this? Why is this guy attacking me? Because I don't have a platform at this time. I'm not an influential guy or anything. And so then I put out another tweet similar. I said something like, if you're China first, you should live in China. If you're Mexico first, you should live in Mexico. If you're Israel first, maybe you should go live in Israel. And again, he quote tweets me and says, you're an anti-Semite.
That same night?
This was, I think, a couple weeks later. Happened a little bit further down the line. And so...
Were you surprised that he knew you were?
Yeah, I was. I was surprised at why he cared.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking, how does he even know who I am or what I'm about? And it turned out that Cassie Dillon, she had texted him earlier and she wanted him to take me under his wing. She texted him after that debate and said, you really like this guy. He's amazing. He did this great debate. She goes, but he's a little too pro-Trump. He's a little too Trumpy. And he goes, I'll take a look. And so I guess the two of them were kind of like grooming me in a sense. They wanted me to go maybe and be a Daily Wire, or maybe looking me as a potential conservative activist or influencer. And so they started paying attention to me, and the more critical of Israel I was, I started to get this really intense pushback from the both of them and from a lot of the people at Daily Wire.
Why do you think, so you're an 18-year-old college freshman, you're clearly talented and you're engaged, you're really interested, and you ask not crazy questions like, what is this?
Mm-hmm.
And rather than explain it, they just call you a racist, call you an anti-Semite. Like, that's the first response. That seems like the least effective. Well, it turned out to be not very effective in your case, but that seems like the least effective thing you could do. Why do you think they did that?
Well, I think that you have to look at it not in retrospect, because hindsight is 20/20. And so looking back, you could say they made a terrible mistake.
What's up, Steve? Good to have you, bud. I don't fully understand what you mean. And lock flick. I think if you could be a little more clear what you're saying, please. I don't fully understand exactly what you're trying to say.
Because look at sort of what they provoked or what they catalyzed. But at that time, you got to consider,
as Jesse Lee Peterson would say, I'm black and slow. Please help me understand.
I'm 18 with no following, with no network. I'm coming from the suburbs of Chicago. My parents didn't go to college. I have no connections. And so for them, it was very easy that if they detected that a promising young guy was going to become anti-Israel in the conservative movement, they could crush that person easily and grind them under the heel. So they sort of were alerted, oh, there's a precocious young guy that isn't on board.
Yeah, I think that's why I said please explain, because I feel like Lock Flick was kind of going in a roundabout way to call Trump a king. And I smelled it, and that's what it is. They're trying to say that now that they lost an election last year and we have a Republican in power in the White House, that just because they didn't get their way, now it's a dictatorship. And I completely disagree.
With Israel, we'll keep an eye on him. And if he gets too vocal or popular, we'll cut him down, we'll crush him. Because at this time, as you know, in 2017, it's a very different time. 2016, 17, any criticism or dissent on the subject was a death sentence. You became radioactive, unhireable, blacklisted, and that's exactly what happened. And basically from then on, it was just this escalating series of blacklisting, censorship, hit pieces, rumors to try to ostracize me from the movement. And
while you're a college student?
Yes. As a freshman, yeah.
Most coffee companies sell weakness, watered down.
Man, I've never seen someone sell so many things on their show.
Because it was this new dialectic that Trump forced.
Yeah.
Trump planted the seed.
And the seed was America first.
Yes.
So once you accept that, a lot of the way we're doing things becomes impossible to support or justify.
Right. The contradiction becomes apparent. It gets moved to the center, and it becomes unignorable if you're consistent.
So what kind of efforts did they make to make you go away?
So
you guys think it's Wayne, Bruce Wayne? You think it's Batman? Beta Wayne? Beta Wayne! Anybody know who Pickle Rick is? Pickle Rick!
This is a couple of months down the line. You know, first they would try to dissuade me from asking questions because I was friends with a lot of the...
Is it Beta Wayne?
Beta.
Don't be a beta, bro.
Beta. Beta male. Man, be a alpha male, not a beta male.
Daily Wire writers, not just Cassie Dillon, but many of them were Jewish.
Beta Wayne.
And I would ask...
He says in the chat, I just want a republic inhabited by studied Republicans, a Jeffersonian nation, but alas, Hamilton and the Federalists have taken the day.
Them point blank, I would say, so why do we give Israel all this money? $3.8 billion per year? What is that for? And they would say, well, you know, there's a really good answer for that, but you're asking it in the wrong way. You're asking it in an anti-Semitic way. I'd say I'm asking for the proof. You know, what's the argument there? And so first it was the sort of, hey man, could you kind of tone it down? Maybe just don't bring that up so much. But I was persistent.
Damn, Boo Boo knows, dude. It's Rick and Morty, baby. Pickle Rick. I said yesterday you were when you were echoing, I couldn't help but I remember the time split episode on Rick and Morty, dude. I love it.
At this time, I was genuinely inquisitive. I wanted to know, is there an actual reason? And I was actually expecting that there was a really good reason for all of it. And the more that I read, the more that I dug into the subject, the more I found out there's a lot of these neocon Jewish types behind the Iraq war. There's the foreign aid complex, which is really unique. There's AIPAC, which is this intense foreign lobby where it's bipartisan. It seems to be the only thing that the parties can agree on. And so it just made me burn more with curiosity. So I just kept asking them. And eventually they said, you know what? We're not going to.
Dude, I got a couple books that just arrived today that I can't wait to read, but I have to finish Thomas Sowell first. I'll show you right now.
Going to talk to you anymore. And these are my friends. I met them, went to Christmas parties with them. And all of them one day said, you're done. We're blocking you. We're never going to speak to you again. We're never going to have you on our show. And I said, wow, like this seems like inhuman. I'm struck by how impersonal this is. Like here, I thought we're friends. We're all conservatives. Maybe we disagree on one issue. Now I'm being canceled by the right. So I was shocked by this.
When was this?
This was February
or
out. March 2017.
So you're still a freshman in college?
Yes.
Are you even paying attention to college at this point?
No, not at all. And my grades started to suffer because I was just really focused on this.
So that's pretty young to get canceled and pretty young to have friendships destroyed over politics. Like that's usually, like decades down the line.
Right.
What did you do?
Well, I just became more emboldened. And so I took this story on my show. At this time, I was on RSBN, and I had this show, which I named after the inaugural. It's called America First. And I would kind of
the rise and
bring
fall
up
of the House
Israel
of Medici
and say, this is something you're not allowed to talk about. This seems like an apparent contradiction. It's a big problem.
On classical
they
economics.
Escalated their attacks.
And
Cassie Dillon would call my boss,
the
who
Wealth
she was
of
friends
Nations
with, at RSBN every day for weeks, saying, you'll never believe what Nick said on his show tonight. It's so racist. It's so bad. You got to take him off the air. It's going to make you look bad. And I would then get word from my boss, Joe Seals. He was the founder at Right Side. And he would call me up and say, I don't know what has gotten into Cassie. I thought you guys were friends. But she is calling me every day hysterically, demanding that I fire you. And I was like, wow. So it just keeps getting worse. It starts with this, they're very weird about the subject. Then they don't want to talk to me. Then they're trying to get me fired. And I'm thinking, okay, so clearly what I'm asking about, there's some truth there that they don't want.
I should have asked you this earlier, did anyone during the course of, pre-cancellation say to you, here are the reasons? You're not asking the question correctly, but there are reasons that are for.
W. Ruby, bro. Ruby says, mad respect, bro. I was there in the chat when you said you were going to do this, and now you're walking the walk. Always, bro. Always, always. I always say what I'm going to. I always do what I'm going to say. Always.
To Israel is so high.
And not for anybody else, but I want to be true to myself, dude.
Why? And here's what they are.
I'm a very curious person. I love learning more than anything in the world. There's nothing I like more than learning stuff.
They did, but in a very...
Not hanging out anywhere, going and doing something, going to a bar, going to a lounge, going to a club, going to a rave, I love all these things. But hanging out with family, hanging out with this, hanging out doing that, relaxing, sleeping, learning is the thing I love the absolute most.
General and vague way. As you know, it's never specific. They would say things like, well, they're our partner in the Middle East. They're a democracy in the Middle East. Just as very vague. It's rhetorical.
Hell yeah.
And I read The Israel Lobby by Mearsheimer and Stephen Walt, and they break it down very succinctly that there's no real strategic benefit. Actually, there's strategic liability. Eastern Mediterranean is not a strategically important region. The intelligence that Israel provides is not useful. Actually, it's detrimental because they frequently lie. The technology we give them, they pass along to the Chinese, which was a big scandal. So I would give them all this and say, yeah, that's not adding up. And they would say, yeah, well, you really just can't talk about that.
Your friend said that to you?
Yes.
Wow. Okay, so what happened to your job? The Right Side Broadcasting gig.
Eventually, I got fired. I got kicked out.
Why?
Because one of these clips that Cassie Dillon had a problem with, she ran it up the flagpole. She took it to Media Matters, actually, which is a left-wing outfit. They're like a cancel mill. And
wait, the Daily Wire?
Dude, this guy, dude, thank you guys. Yes, it's the best thing. Learning, honestly, is the absolute greatest thing on the planet. And when you get hooked on it, dude, it like, fuck, bro, it's just the best. I've always been that way, though. I don't know another way. It's literally since I was a kid. Dude, what happened to this guy, Nick Fuentes? He's at the part of his life story where he gets canceled. And the way they cancel him so hard is insane. They even debank this guy where he can't even use the banks, bro. Not like it's wild. It's wild what happened to this guy. And he couldn't make money. He couldn't even go out there and like, he had to make his own website and publish his own videos on his own website. And it was crazy. Dude, WCS, dude. Thank you, CS, with the super chat. Gotta get back to work here. Appreciate the channel vibe and your audience. Be well. Thank you very much. Good looking out. Thank you so much for supporting us. And love to have you. Thank you for coming. Come back again. And be happy to chat some more. Love the dialogue. Thank you so much.
Fire person took it to Media Matters?
yes,
Are you sure?
I'm 99% sure.
Huh. What was the clip?
It was a clip, ironically, where I was talking about the travel ban, the so-called Muslim ban, and I was defending
Thank
it.
you.
And I said that the First Amendment does not protect foreign nationals. It doesn't protect Salafists, Wahhabis.
Right.
He's like, I said, they're saying that there's a constitutional right for radical Muslims to come here. And I said that, how are they protected by the First Amendment? They're foreign nationals. And the authorial intent of the First Amendment was actually not even to protect that to begin with. It's kind of anti-Christendom radical ideology.
A Ruby in the chat says, you remind me of my favorite prayer, bro. The serenity prayer. God gives me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Love that. Look, good one. Good one. Right on.
So it's something, ironically, that probably Shapiro and Cassie would agree with, but they recognize the currency that a clip like that would have with the left. Because the left could say, you're Islamophobic, you're racist.
So she brought that to the left, saying,
So he's almost at that point of the story where he gets completely canceled and doxxed and debanked. So you're going to trip out if he, I'm assuming he's going to get to that point. Mac, you're absolutely right. He says, dude, in the chat, Mac says, dude, I remember like 3 weeks ago, you only had just gotten 5,000 subscribers. You're knocking on 8,000 subscribers. Yeah, dude, we're moving fast, bro. So we did the numbers the other day, and I'm doubling. I'm not doubling. I'm increasing by 50% week over week on subscribers. It's a pretty wild increase there.
and look at this guy. It's not that he's anti-Islam.
Sean Pepper says, my wife hates Islam. How do you feel about it? I know lots of Persians are fed up because it's destroyed their country. Your wife is Persian. And I remember you said that. My parents are from Iran. They're Persian. I'm of Persian descent, so my ethnicity is Persian. I'm American, first and foremost, born and raised here, Southern California, but I am of Persian descent. And I am in agreement with your wife. I don't know if I've used the word hate before, but I have a very, very big bone to pick with Islam for destroying the country that my parents came from. They call America home now, but the country that they came from and the place where my ethnicity, my, I guess, heritage goes back to. It's a disgrace what Islam did to that country. It's completely taken it back by at least 2,000 years. The people there a lot of them are starving. They're killing themselves. You got people with multiple PhDs that can't pay rent. The doctors that are barely making it in life. It's just a crazy, crazy thing to see.
Israel, but he's anti-Muslim.
Yes.
Well, that's
and they're smart people. Any of those people come here and they make great lives for themselves out of nothing, because they're great people. They're smart people. From my experience, what I've seen, but that Islam has completely destroyed it, and I have a major bone to pick with Islam. Very, very unhappy with the way they run countries, with the exception of a very few countries.
Very interesting.
Yes.
And so that clip appears on Media Matters, which at the time, I was the subject of a lot of attacks from them at the time. And people kind of listened to them.
Yeah.
Including on the right, they listened to them.
Yes.
So what happened?
So I had to write an apology. My boss called me up and said, you need to apologize for what you said.
For being anti-Muslim.
Yes. And so I didn't write, I'm sorry, but I had to write something like, well, I should have chosen my words more carefully and this, that, and the other. And ultimately, then they fired me
Anyway.
a couple weeks later. Yeah.
And what was the pretext for that?
Well, they wanted to get in the White House press office. They wanted a press pass. And they said, the stuff you're saying on the show isn't like a good look for Right Side. They're not going to let us in.
Wonder what he's about to say about Islam and what ended up coming out of that. Basically, I want to know what his ideology is. But yeah, I've been exposed to Islam my whole life growing up. I had my grandma, one of my great grandma on one side was Muslim, and I have an aunt that is Muslim and does prayer once in a while. But my parents are absolutely not Muslim, and they never were, never. Well, I think my dad might have, from his parents, like kind of been Muslim, but not really. But right now they despise it. They hate Islam because it destroyed their country, and they're really upset with Islam.
Into the White House, if you're,
as am I. I don't like what happens when Islam comes into power. From what I've seen in my lifetime, and I'm just going to speak for that, it has not been a great thing in general, overall.
With us.
But
the pressure in this scenario came exclusively from the Daily.
Sorry, I keep pausing this thing, but Sean in the chat says, such a tragedy because Persian people are mostly amazing. We go to Persian restaurants here and parties with their Persian friends, and he's talking about his wife. And the food is great, and the culture is so polite and friendly. Yes, very polite, friendly, very welcoming people. Honestly, just overall good experience. I've had really good experiences in my life with my fellow other Persians that I've met in my life. That's all I could say about that, to be honest. I have a lot more to say actually, but in response to that.
The Wire.
Yes. Yes, because, and here's how I know why. My show got maybe 100 live viewers every night.
Not a powerhouse show.
No. So
listen to what he says about getting.
Not onto me. They were put onto me by people in the right that wanted me canceled.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. So then what do? You're failing in school. Your show just got canceled. What's your plan now?
So I dropped out.
College.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I hated college, and it was very expensive.
Yeah, the movie 300 is a movie. It was funny being Persian descent and watching that. It was hilarious.
Even I had a substantial scholarship, but it was still expensive, and I didn't like it. So my plan was that I was going to go to a different college. I might work for a year, make some money. And
whoa, Sammy Hisson says, "You piece of garbage! You are a Persian, messing a sick, primitive, fanatical." I don't think you didn't. That sentence didn't make sense. But wow, it's the first time I've heard of this guy, Sammy Hisson. He's already in my chat, calling me a piece of garbage. Don't delete him or cancel him. Moderators, you guys leave him. I want to see what he has to say. What else do you have to say, Sammy? Go ahead, explain yourself, buddy. Why am I a piece of garbage? I don't understand what you're saying.
Eventually, I got the show back about a month later. They came back, and by popular demand from my 100 viewers who were very dedicated, Right Side offered me the show back. And so I took the show again over the summer. And then I applied for a job at the leadership.
What do you got to say for yourself, Sammy? Let's see what you got, bro. Yeah, let's see.
Institute. That was kind of the next big saga.
But you didn't get that job.
No, I did not get the job.
Why?
Well, I was told, because I knew people that worked there, that were field representatives there. It was a field representative job. And so I went out for a job training at the end of July 2017. So after that second semester, and I applied for this field rep job. It was this 2-week training. And I go there, and on the first day of the whole thing.
Trolled and rolled, bro. Yep. Trolled and rolled. Loser vibes. Big time beta, bro.
Beta male.
Don't be a beta, bro.
Man, be a alpha male, not a beta male.
Come on, bro.
They go around the room of all the prospective applicants. It's like a big tryout, basically, for 2 weeks. And they want
beta.
Want to get everybody to break the ice and know each other. So we did introductions. They said, say your name, how old you are, and why you're a conservative. And at this time, people are not where, let's say, we are right now. They're not America first. They're not anything like, they're not talking about great replacement. That's not on the radar for them. So you go around the room and you hear stuff about small government, free markets, personal responsibility, that sort of thing. And they get to,
what's up, Dennis? That's amazing. What the? Dude came in, called me a piece of garbage, and bounced, bro. Tail between his legs. You ain't got nothing, bro. Come on, bro. Say it to my face.
That's amazing.
Are you out of your cotton picking mind?
Are you out of your cotton picking mind?
to me, and I said, well, I'm a conservative.
A feminine man is a weak man because he's a woman. He's a beta.
No, he's not, Jesse.
Yeah, he's a beta.
No, he's not.
He is a beta.
Because we're losing our civilization because of mass immigration.
Here, dog.
America doesn't resemble America anymore. France is no longer France. I said, and if we don't conserve the demographics, forget about the rest. That's what we need to conserve. And I said that. And
Come and
I
get
was
it,
told
bro.
later on that at that moment, I was immediately
Come and get it
by the people that were running the job training. I said that was too far right. That was too extreme.
Worrying about who lives in your country is far right?
Apparently.
When we started this show, we were looking.
He's afraid of the great white hope, guys. He's afraid of the great white hope. Here we go. Let me put it on for you. Boom. That's what I thought, bro. That's what I thought. Yeah. You don't want none of that? Come on, bro. Let's see what you got. Where'd you go? Why'd you shrivel up? Why'd you shrivel up, bro? Come on. I know you're listening. I know you're listening, bro. Why'd you shrivel up? Yeah, that's what I thought. You scared, bro.
I'm from some strange background.
Get out of here with that weak sauce, dude.
I come from a normal home. You know, my parents are Catholic. They're married. We came from a relatively affluent suburb. I went to Lyons Township. That's like a very affluent high school. In other words, I didn't wake up as like the son of, William Luther Pierce. I wasn't like a skinhead or something. You know, I was like a normal guy that was like, yeah, like country's too diverse. We're too.
W. Carlene. What's up, Carlene? Thank you for joining, dude. Good to have you.
Pro-Israel.
Where are you from, Carlene? What state are you in?
Israel. Like, this is reasonable. And I was just getting sandbagged for it and blacklisted. And what's more, nobody cared. Like, because I remember.
He's running because he doesn't have a pair, bro. He needs to grow a pair, come back and start talking and have some dialogue. But he knows he'll get crushed, bro. You can't hang, bro. Oregon's in the house. Where are you at in Oregon?
Remember going on
Oregon,
Twitter and
dude,
saying,
hell
like,
yeah.
You know, why isn't anyone sticking up for me? Where's Dave Rubin? You know, the free speech warrior. Where's he on this one? Where's Shapiro? Where's all these people? And in some way, they were all sort of complicit in this. So I realized that the conservative movement was completely.
Why you running? Why you running?
Bankrupt in that way.
Yeah, well,
and
you're
I became very
absolutely right.
radical.
Well, you became
By the way, I am taking callers if anybody wants to jump on and have a chat on live. Let's go, baby. I'm down.
I mean, let me just say, I'm so familiar with, I was much older when it happened to me and much more insulated. I was not a college student. I was like 45. So, and I was in a much better place to withstand the pressure. But I do think this is my main question to you is, when you get attacked, when people call you names, like they always called me racist, and I would always think to myself, I'm actually not. I would tell you if I was racist. I'm a little sexist, but I'm not racist. And I never understood why they did that. And then I thought maybe the point is to make me racist, where you just get to
down, Sean. If you want to jump on the call, let me know when you're down. We'll jump on.
You get to a point where you're like, well, if you're going to slander me, then I'll just become the thing you're calling me. I do think that's a feature of human nature, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
And if you stare too intently at the accusers,
I like what Tucker just said because this is so true. And I always tell people this, if people are calling you something, if people are assuming this and they keep saying this about you, well then you could just go, I might as well just go ahead and do it. You know what I mean?
So I realized that the conservative movement
listen to what he says.
I was not a college student. I was like 45. So, and I was in a much better place to withstand the pressure. But I do think this is my main question to you is, when you get attacked, when people call you names, like they always called me racist, and I would always think to myself, I'm actually not. I would tell you if I was racist. I'm a little sexist, but I'm not racist. And I never understood why they did that. And then I thought maybe the point is to make me racist. Where you just get to a point where you're like, well, if you're going to slander me, then I'll just become the thing you're calling me. I do think that's a feature of human nature, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting thing that he just mentioned there, and we'll get to that. But Boo Boo, I agree with you, and we already talked about how I could mute callers that come in, and only allow callers to speak when it's their turn to speak.
And if you stare too intently at the accusers, at the whatever Ben Shapiro's or Mark Levin's or Ted Cruz or whoever it is.
Sean, I don't know, bro. I'm not sure, to be honest.
It distorts you, and you actually change and become what they say you are. Have you thought that ever? Do you worry that happened to you?
No, I don't think it ever did, because I know who I am. I had a very firm grounding of what I'm about, which is that I was deeply Catholic, and I still am. Deeply patriotic and pro-American, and I don't consider.
Okay, so what Tucker said is when people talk about you, you might as well become that thing that you are. And here's the thing is, I tell people, do what it is that you want to do, because sometimes people will stop you from doing what you want to do, and they'll say, well, if you do this, people are going to say this about you. And if you do that, like, you're like, hey man, I was thinking about doing this. And you're like, well, be careful, because if you do this, someone's going to talk behind your back, and someone's going to say this about you. And I like to tell people, you know what? The reality is people are going to hate. No matter what you do, if you're doing something great, they're going to hate on you. And the best thing to do is just do it anyway. Because whether you do it or not, people will talk shit one way or another. Might as well do the thing you want to do and be great at it and have people hate even more.
Consider myself temperamentally to be an angry or a hateful person. So I never, in other words, lost my center. They say this thing about you look into the abyss and the abyss stares back into you. That never really happened to me. I was frustrated. I was frustrated because I felt like I was being denied a level playing field, opportunity, and it wasn't fair. I felt like I was right, and these people that were basically hypocrites, grifters, not really conservative, they were controlling the conversation, and as a consequence, they were controlling the Republican movement. And I really perceive this as like an urgent crisis, because if we wanted Trump to deliver America first, to realize it, the Trump movement had to transform the conservative movement to reflect the victory that Trump won.
So, I won't keep torturing you with biographical questions, but I do want to, so how your show gets canceled, you drop out of college.
he's about to get to that point that I'm talking about, I think. Hopefully he does. Mac, I agree with you, bro. And Boo Boo, I figured out there's a way that I can mute everybody, even if I have 10 people on a call. I can mute everyone except the person that I want to speak.
You have no money. You decide you want to work at the Leadership Institute, which is like a conservative think tank or some organization of longstanding in Arlington, Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Can't get the job there because you're worried about immigration. It's all pretty amazing. And then, like, where does that leave you? How did you succeed?
Well, I continued doing my show. I did it independently.
Check this out.
How do you do a show independently? Like, how did you do it?
I started a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And I was in my parents' basement, and I put up a green screen. I got my computer, webcam, and I just started going live every night in the same way that I did at RSBN. I just did it on my own channel where I had creative control over it. And at that point, I basically mounted an attack on the conservative establishment from the outside. I sort of realized that there's sort of two ways you could play this. You could infiltrate the conservative movement. I could recant all my views and apologize and pretend to be one of them and bypass the gatekeepers, the censors. I said, or I could kind of be in the wilderness and I would be alone and I would be radioactive, but I could challenge the credibility and legitimacy of the conservative movement and its claim to represent conservatives. And that was kind of the mission, was to say, no, the immovable standard is America first. I'm going to represent it. And the conservative movement is going to have to move to me. I will not move towards them. And I thought, maybe I'll make money and maybe I won't, but I'm going to try it for a couple of years and I'll see how it goes.
So, but the sight picture in your head was enemy is conservative movement.
Yes.
Do you think that was a good choice?
Yes, absolutely.
Rather than like, but why not like Antifa or, you know, I don't know, Anti-Defamation League, or there are a lot of institutions on like George Soros. Like, why would it be their conservative establishment? Why did you think that was important?
Well, I kind of took a page from Trump's playbook, which is that you have to, in the country, the left was hegemonic over all the institutions. And you have this organized opposition to the left and the Democrats and all the left-wing controlled institutions. And the organized opposition comes from movement conservatism, the Republican Party, Fox News, you know, the sort of constellation of conservative institutions. And I said, the problem is, whether you go Democrat or you go Republican, you're kind of just like getting the same thing. You're getting the establishment effectively. The opposition is basically controlled or moderated. It's not authentic opposition. It's not a true alternative. And so I said, we, and by we, I mean the true America First nationalists, we need to fight for the mantle of the opposition. And then leading the opposition, then we can take the fight to the left as the conservatives, as the Republicans, whatever. But first, you have to win that internal battle among the audience that the conservatives have. Because that's really the problem, is that they have usurped. The base is extremely conservative, extremely anti-left. But the Republican Party, like those that represent them, are not at all. A lot of them are atheists, a lot of them are gay, a lot of them are feminists. And so I said, like, we kind of need to rally, like Trump did, rally the base against the establishment, and then take the fight to the left as the true alternative. And if you can win that, then you win the country. That was kind of Trump's model.
What did you see as like the most important gatekeepers that needed to be overturned, pushed aside in order to do this?
It was the Zionist Jews, like Dave Rubin, like Ben Shapiro, like Dennis Prager. It was these the guys that were really controlling the media apparatus that seemed to me to be the biggest impediment.
Fox is not a Jewish business, though.
Well, Rupert Murdoch is an ally of Netanyahu, so he's aligned.
Yeah.
And he owns the whole News Corp empire. So, and yeah, he's certainly a part of it also.
I mean, Dave Rubin, though, does he matter?
No, not really.
Right. I mean, Dave Rubin is like, I don't know. Do people watch Dave Rubin?
They did back then. I mean, because you got to consider they were kind of like the ascendant new media, you know? They represented the next big thing.
I mean, and Ben Shapiro seems irrelevant to me now.
But back then, for the young,
I guess that's
was
true.
huge. Mm-hmm.
So maybe you won.
Oh, certainly.
Well, it wasn't that long ago that many Americans thought they were inherently safe from the last their life, which has been so destructive, I think, and I've seen it. Who are the voices who are sincere in their opposition to that and who have some ability to change the country's orientation on foreign policy? And those would include Marjorie Taylor Greene, J.D. Vance.
I agree with a lot of what you guys said about the MAGA party. You guys are talking in the chat there. MAGA is kind of not the left or the right. It has some pieces of the left, but a lot more pieces of the right. And it's not exactly, it's not a square in a square peg. You know what I mean? It's not exactly fitting exactly what a Republican is. I think the Republican Party has tried to mold itself to fit MAGA in a way, because this current Republican Party is not what it was. I'm not saying MAGA is the end all be all, because I still have, I'm not like 100%, on every piece of it, but I guess you can never be 100% on anything. So, but the thing I love about MAGA the most, I would say, one of the big things is that it's open and accepting of different ideologies if it means it's the right thing to do or it's the right way to go. You guys heard me on the show say it many times. You got people like RFK Jr. And I don't know why her name is escaping me now, but the girl from Hawaii that was on the that was a Democrat. So RFK and Tulsi Gabbard they were both Democrat, and they were accepted by MAGA, and actually were very phenomenal additions to MAGA. So I think MAGA is very open. It's very much not a cult. It's not this, thing that the left makes it out to be, obviously. But it is very much so. If something makes sense and it's the right thing to do, it's okay if it's coming from whatever side that it's coming from.
Matt Gaetz, me. But you've attacked all of those people.
Yeah.
Why would you, and almost Joe Kent.
He just said me. Yeah, because Nick Fuentes attacked Tucker Carlson. That's true.
And those strike me as someone who's really interested in this topic. I'm not that interested in the Jews, but I'm very interested in the foreign policy question. Those seem like the...
Max said he wanted to talk about AIPAC, and I think that's what they're going to talk about.
Most sincere people. Those seem like the only hope of the country to get away from this destructive, really self-destructive cycle. Why attack them?
Well, in short, they attacked me first.
Yeah, but who cares?
Well, let's take Joe Kent.
I mean, you attack me constantly.
Well,
and I'm like, I don't really give a shit. I want to meet the guy.
You attacked me first, too.
No, but what I'm saying is...
Damn, I love that. I love that about him. He goes, they attacked me first. And then he goes, well, you attacked me. He goes, well, you attacked me first, too.
About it. Sure. I'm just saying, so, you know what I mean?
Well, I don't say so because, take Joe Kent.
Richard Micho says, MAGA is a cult and you are an asshole. Care to explain? What the hell?
And for instance, I supported Joe Kent. And I talked to Joe Kent. I got introduced to him by Matt Brainerd. Matt Brainerd went to my conference in 2021. He bought a table.
Was he his campaign manager?
He was.
Okay.
Or he was a consultant, but he was on the campaign. Yeah. And
is this going to be another guy that's just wants to come and troll and take off with his tail between his legs, or is he going to explain himself? Is it
so I met Matt.
Is it another beta?
Beta male.
Brainerd, he liked me a lot. He loved my conference in February 21, which he bought a table at for his organization, Look Ahead America. And in 2021, and by we, I mean my nonprofit and myself and my team, we wanted to support America First candidates in the midterms. Like you said, authentic opponents.
Me too.
Yeah. And
That's
so
how I found Joe Kent.
Yes. And so I met a lot of the people in that.
Toughlock65 says, Richard is just reflecting because he's in the liberal Nazi cult, the Democrat Party. Yeah, we call that tough. We call that, we actually learned this word in this stream. We call that confession through projection. He's explaining himself by projecting his own ideologies onto us.
Sort of scene, like Ryan Gerdusky, I know, is very supportive of Joe Kent, and other people that are more private, I don't want to name, but they put me on, not just to Joe Kent, but Patrick Witt in Georgia, Gibbs in Michigan, a lot of different people. And Joe Kent was one of them. And I had a phone call with Joe Kent. And I told him, I had my assistant on the phone too, who's Jewish, by the way, just because I want you to know I'm cool like that. You know, I don't judge. But so I'm on the phone with Joe, and I said, look, we support you, and we want to do everything we can to help you. We want to have my followers knock on doors for you. We want
to. We got Tesh Patel telling us about MAGA is a Nazi, self-proclaimed Nazi. Please explain. Please explain.
Boost your social media. Anything that you need, we want to help you. I said, and we don't even want to be publicly associated. I said, because we know that that might hurt you. I said, the only thing that we ask in return is you can't disavow me if the media asks. And you can say whatever you need to say, but you can't disavow. And he said, yeah, I totally agree with you, because if we start disavowing each other, then we're just going to eat each other alive and the left wins. We're in agreement. And a couple months later, Joe tweeted in support of me because I had been banned on all social media. I was on the no-fly list. So he said something on Twitter like, you know, Nick Fuentes shouldn't be banned. He should not be censored. A month after that, I put out on Twitter, I said, Joe Kent is one of the most impressive America First candidates that's running in 22. Well, fast forward a whole year later, I do my annual conference, AFPAC, in February 22. Marjorie Taylor Greene attends. It's we had 1,200 people, and it got a lot of media attention. And I'm driving home because I'm on the no-fly list at this time. I'm driving home from Florida.
Can I ask you to pause? By no-fly list, you mean not extra scrutiny, but like not allowed to fly in airplanes in the United States?
Not allowed to fly, yes.
How old were you?
I was 23.
Did you have any felony convictions?
No.
Okay. I wasn't even aware that could happen.
Yeah, Sean, I don't know what Tesh is talking about. Tesh Patel. I have no idea what that person is talking about, if it's a he or a she, or I don't want to misgender them, they. Yeah, I had never heard Nick Fuentes say he is a neo-Nazi. I mean, never heard that once.
Happened. How long were you not allowed to fly in airplanes?
I haven't listened to every single video that he's put out, but I haven't never heard him say he's a neo-Nazi, and that dude is saying he is.
United States.
And Sean makes a good point. He hates socialism. So,
year.
It's really crazy.
Yeah, it was.
Sorry, I just want to get that out there.
No, yeah, it's brutal.
And you confirm that you were not allowed to fly in airplanes?
Yes,
period.
I have the letter from the TSA. Yeah, I was on the do not board list.
Sorry to interrupt.
Can you believe that? They canceled him on all social media. They also put him on the no-fly list, and I think they debanked him. No, I know they debanked him.
No, it's crazy. But so anyway, so I'm driving home from Florida after my conference, and I get people start texting me.
Tough makes a good point. You Democrats, in the chat, he says, you Democrats literally support Muslims who literally are Nazi sympathizers. That's an interesting point he makes. And Sean makes another point. Words have meaning unless you're a lefty. Exactly.
Joe Kent is on Twitter, and he says, I condemn Nick Fuentes, especially his views on Israel. That's the tweet. And I texted Joe, and I said, seriously? And he texts me back and he says, we win by addition, not subtraction. I go, well, you just subtracted me out of the movement. I said, because I don't support you anymore. He goes back for seconds. He goes on Twitter and says, Nick Fuentes and his focus on race and religion does not fit with my message of inclusive populism. Inclusive populism. That doesn't sound like authentic America first. That sounds like bullshit to me. And I don't know. I know he's your friend, but I don't know him that well. And
Right.
I'm not on the team.
Well, so my read on Joe Kent was he's totally sincere. He, like me, has always been committed to separating out like foreign policy views from ethnicity.
Sean, you're right. I think you said pushed, but I'm not sure. I think you meant a different word. But they literally put people like Tulsi Gabbard on a no-fly list. She couldn't fly. She was a threat to our country, I guess, just like they did to Nick Fuentes. That's what Democrats do. They use their power, just like the people that they're saying fascists. They use their power like fascists, and they stop people from flying on planes. They debank them. They cancel them. They use their power to shut people up. They canceled people. They used their own political power in the FBI to cancel people on social media and to suppress things that were not in their favor politically.
Not because, I mean, obviously I'm denounced as an anti-Semite every day.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really care what ADL thinks of me, but my Christian faith tells me that there's no such thing as blood guilt. And virtue or sin is not inherited. It's not a feature of DNA. So every person must be assessed individually as God assesses each person individually. And that's like a foundational view. So I always thought it's great to criticize and it's question like our relationship with Israel because it's insane and it hurts us. We get nothing out of it. I completely agree with you there. But the second you're like, well, actually it's the Jews. First of all, it's against my Christian faith. Like I just don't believe that and I never will, period. And second, then it becomes a way to discredit. That's when I was like, this guy's a Fed.
Mm-hmm.
I was totally convinced you were a Fed because I was like, here he's bear hugging like the one sincere guy who lost his wife in Syria thanks to the fucking crazy wars, neocon wars. And he's discredited. He's doing the David Duke. Like David Duke would always, every time I rolled out a new show, he would issue an endorsement of the show. I've never met the guy. What's that? Well, it's the Feds. Obviously, he's trying to destroy
See you, Dominique.
me by association. Whatever. You see the point?
Yeah, but so let me ask you this. So if I'm supporting Joe Kent, I'm David Duke bear hugging. If I attack Joe Kent, I'm attacking the only sincere America First
Look,
voices.
I get it. I mean, I do get it. And I just want to say I love Joe Kent. Again, having been denounced by a lot of people I like, I know what that feels like.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely am sympathetic to that.
Yeah.
I was denounced by someone I like last night. I hurt my feelings. You know what I mean? Whatever. I'm not even going to say what her name is, but I helped her. I liked her. You know, it's like, why are you denouncing me? Why didn't you call me?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I get that. I guess the two problems, but then on the other hand, like one of my favorite people in the world is Glenn Greenwald.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love Glenn.
Oh, what a good man. Glenn must have spent like 10 years attacking me full time. Tucker Carlson is da-da-da-da-da. And some of his criticism was correct, actually. You know, a tool of the neocons, endorsing these fucking wars. Like, he was right. But he really hated me. And then when we started to agree on stuff, I was like, you know what? It's not about me. I don't care. Like, I don't want personal pique or my hurt feelings to govern my behavior. I guess that's what I'm saying. I'm not lecturing you. I get it. But I feel like, okay, he pissed you off. It's in a campaign. He's got 19 consultants. This kid's a Nazi. Be careful of him. Like, I don't know. Let it go.
Well, and I totally agree with you, by the way. And that's why I don't take it personally at all. Like, and I like you. I've said very positive things about you on my show as well. I
don't care.
And I know, but I mean to say that
he says I don't care.
My goal is America first.
Mac says he's telling Tesh to jump on a call. I'm down to talk to Tesh if he wants to jump on a call.
Right. It's not about me. It's not about my personality. It's about winning for America, you know, and by winning, I mean, we want to see our vision realized. But with Joe, for me, it was very specific that he said inclusive populism. And I really didn't like that because to me, there were a lot of similar phrases at this time, multiracial, working class, populism, this kind of stuff. And I said, you know, on some level, we do need to be exclusive, not inclusive. We do need to be right-wing. We do need to be Christian. We do, on some level, need to be pro-white, not to the exclusion of everybody else, but recognizing that white people have a special heritage here as Americans. And so the reason I opposed him in 22 was not because I was mad, but it was to say, America First cannot backslide into this kind of inclusive populism message, which I perceive to be more like GOP slop. And I'll tell you, when he ran again in 24, I did not oppose him. I did not oppose him. And I would have supported him if he had reached out or something like that. Because for me, it was very political and professional. I wanted to impose a cost. If you disavow someone because they criticize Israel, if you disavow someone for talking about white people and Christianity, I said, we can't let that.
Honestly, if anybody wants to jump on, Steve, if you want to jump, I don't know what Mac wants to hear, but Steve, if you want to jump on and speak a little bit and just give us like some things that you feel strongly about, or some things that you would like to message, you're welcome to do that. Anybody wants to, and anybody's able to. Yeah, things you agree with me. I know. Yeah, Steve. I think Steve does agree with me on a lot of stuff. If you want to hop on and just shoot the shit, bro, jump on. We can chat.
Slide because, and you understand why he did it. Like I don't, on some level, I don't hold it against him in the sense that there is such a strong incentive. It's easy to say, I disavow all these crazy Christians and all these crazy white nationalists, because it buys you wiggle room with people that are attacking you. It's like easy to throw them under the bus and say, right, I'm one of the good guys. And so I said, it's too easy. We need to push in the other direction and say, you should feel less comfortable saying that people shouldn't talk about their race and religion. Maybe you'll think twice next time. And so I did it for a very specific reason. And
I get that. What I do think is bad, just objectively bad and destructive, is the all Jews are guilty.
No, you're good, Mac. I know how it gets. Sometimes we get confused in the chat, or like some guys say something, we don't know how they're saying it, but it's all good. No bad dogs at all.
Or all anybody is guilty of anything, because that's just like not true. And we don't believe that as Christians. I mean, my hero in life is Paul.
Tesh, you keep saying calling people names and making claims, but you're not talking about anything. So you want to jump on a call, Tesh, and explain to us exactly what you're talking about? Or why don't you explain in the chat a little bit and tell us something without saying, all you're doing is calling names, Tesh Patel. Do you actually have a conversation or something to speak about?
Guess you call him St. Paul, Saul of Tarsus, a Pharisee.
Yeah.
And meets Jesus and becomes this just incredible man, incredibly brave, smart, loving, like everything you want to be as a man, he was. Jew.
Yeah.
So like, and God did that to him. So it's like, you can't, I think that's and I don't think it's like mushy liberal bullshit, which I hate.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate all the language that you're describing. I get why it offends you.
Tesh, stop being a beta male, bro.
Beta.
Stop being a beta.
Beta male.
Satan is your daddy, woman.
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 Because it's code for, I don't really believe what I'm saying.
He's just going to sit there and talk trash, then we will too. Satan is your daddy, woman.
Satan is your daddy, woman.
Right.
I have a PhD in the subject, so I know.
So you are gay? I didn't know you were gay. How did you become gay?
How did you become gay?
How did you become gay?
But I also think there's like a true, not just principle, but like spiritual reality that we have to defend, which is God created every person as an individual, not as a group. No woman gave birth to a community. Like we hate that kind of thinking, right?
So you are gay?
So you are gay?
I didn't know you're gay.
I didn't know you were gay.
How did you become gay?
How did you become gay? What the?
Collectivist thinking like that. That's identity
What the?
politics. That's what Dave Rubin engages in. That's why Dave is like just a child. Like you don't pay any attention to Dave because he's like shallow. But we're not going to be that, right? Or no?
No, I completely agree with you. And and not to be that guy and say that thing, but like my bad.
Guys, Tej Patel is the exact explanation of the lefties that can't take a loss. It's like, I'm sorry, the epitome of the lefties that can't take a loss. They lost the election. What we voted for, what Trump said he was going to do when we elected him, he's now doing, like the way our democracy is and our constitutional republic is supposed to work. And he's mad. And he can't take the loss. He can't take the L. Take the L, Tej Patel. They, them, it. We don't know what you are, bro. Guy or girl or whatever.
No,
take the L like a man, bro. Don't be a beta.
But
take the L, bro.
Here's
take the L. Nothing worse than a person that can't take a loss, bro. You don't get awards. You don't get trophies for losing, bro. Get out of here, dog.
I guess here's my substantive disagreement, because as a Catholic, I could not agree more with you.
Yes.
In what you're saying. I love
loser
all people, even the ones that don't like us. We have to love them all, and we have to recognize that
we're required to.
Yes. And especially Aquinas says the Jews are a witness people. And so they actually have special protections under the law, according to Catholic philosophy. But I guess my substantive disagreement, which I've said on the show also, is the idea that neoconservatism and Israel has nothing to do.
Hey, check this out, guys. You like this? What's it called? What's his name? Patel. Hey, Patel. Do you know who the Great White Hope is?
The Great White Hope.
You know who that is, bro?
The Great White, the Great White Hope.
Do you know who the Great White Hope is, bro? Huh?
The Great White Hope.
Do you know who that is, bro? Should we show them who the Great White Hope is?
With Jewishness, Jewish identity, the Jewish religion, because clearly the state of Israel and the neocons are deeply motivated by that ethnic identity.
Do you know who the Great White Hope is, Patel?
And their allegiance to Israel proceeds from that. The plan of Greater Israel. The blood and soil nationalism of Israel, it stems from this ethno-religion, which is Judaism.
Well, this is...
I think he rage quit, guys. He's done. He rage quit. Bro. He's good.
Just BLM, the new version. This is identity politics. They're engaging in identity politics. I mean, that's just so obvious to me. But the problem in your response, I get
the Great White Hope.
But the problem in your response is it does not apply to every individual.
No, and I would never say
the Great White Hope. You know who the Great White Hope is, bro? Right here, bro. That's the Great White Hope. You are a Trump hater, and you are a beta male.
You are a Trump hater, and you are a beta male.
Well, I just think it's important to say that, not to kind of like dodge the accusations against you. My best friends are Jewish.
Take your loss.
Okay.
Take your loss like a real they, them.
I agree. Embarrassing, even though it's probably true.
I think that's what I'm going to make it. I'm going to do a new shirt, guys. It's going to say, take your loss like a real they, them.
It's true in my case, actually. But whatever. But because just that principle that we're all judged as individuals by what we do, that our faith, the decisions that we make, the way we live our lives, and God will judge every one of us in that way. And that's how we're supposed to judge. Like, is that? I think that's true.
Yeah, and I totally agree. But I guess the disagreement is, you say identity politics like it's a bad thing. I think identity is a reality.
Identity is a reality. Absolutely. You just can't have a country of 350 million this diverse where it's just like warring ethnicities, because then it's Rwanda soon. And, the people with the most force just kill the others. So like, you can't have that here. Right?
Yeah. But I would say specifically as it pertains to, you, I think, have said it's the neocons. And I think that neoconservatism, where does it arise from? It arises from Jewish leftists who were mugged by reality when they saw the surprise attack in the Yom Kippur War.
Yeah, well, that's a lot of it for sure. But then, like, how do you explain Mike Huckabee, Ted Cruz, and there are a lot like that, John Bolton. I mean, I've known them all, George W. Bush, like Karl Rove. I mean, all people I know personally who I've seen like be seized by this brain virus, and they're not Jewish. Most of them are self-described Christians, and then the Christian Zionists who are, well, Christian Zionists. Like, what is that?
Right.
And I can just say for myself, I dislike them more than anybody. Because like, what? Because it's Christian heresy, and I'm offended by that as a Christian. That's why. So I don't, like, why not? Like, I'm pissed at the neocons, very pissed. I've said that a million times. I've been mad since December of 2003 when I went to Iraq. And so, like, I went and asked straightforward questions to Ted Cruz, because that seemed like there's a sitting senator who's like serving for Israel by his own description. He seemed like a worthy target. I'm not going after MTG, who's like the most sincere like, why not go after Ted Cruz? I don't understand.
Well, again, with Marjorie, I was a friend of hers, and she spoke at my conference, and then the day after, she pretended like she didn't know me. And that was in 2022.
But it's a continuum. Like you said yourself, you showed up in college, like one set of views, they evolve as you interact with reality, as the reality itself changes, as like you learn things, you grow, like whatever, people change.
Well, and look, now that everyone agrees with me, I will graciously forgive them for being
But why
so
make
hostile.
it personal? Like, who cares?
It's not personal for me. Like with Marjorie, if she wanted to, be aligned or whatever, I would totally be on board with her.
But where do you disagree with her?
I don't know, because I don't know what her new views are. She's really only come around on Israel this year, and I've been talking about this issue for 10 years. And
right, okay, all right, you win. But like,
no, but it's not. But it's not like
isn't
that.
it-
It's just it's a little. It feels like BS to me that, and I said this on Twitter the other day. It's like I got treated like I didn't exist.
Right, I get
and canceled for 10 years for saying these things. And that's really where all this drama comes from. A time when there was this intense censorship and nobody was on board with this stuff. Like, again, Marjorie, she fired, one of my people was working in her office. She fired that guy because someone found out that a Groyper was working in her office. And that guy got his life ruined, and she pretended like she didn't know me and lied and said I had no idea the conference I was speaking at. She knew exactly what it was, and that's fine. But now that she's on the same page, there's like this expectation like, okay, well, why did you have a problem with her in the past? It's like, because she was on the other team in the past.
Yeah, well, so was everybody.
Yeah,
I mean,
so now
so were you.
Yeah,
I mean, so what? I mean, what? Why not? It's got to be bigger than just like us, right? And it's not. I don't think. Well, I'll speak for myself. I don't feel like I'm at war with the neocons or Israel. It's much bigger than that. It's like you want to restore America to a place where your grandchildren would enjoy growing up. That's it.
Yeah,
right.
Well, and as far as Marjorie,
so it's not who cares. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Okay, lots of people hurt if Dave Rubin called me tonight, which he would never do, though he has my cell.
You know what's wild is this is the second, I've seen a couple of the interviews with Nick Fuentes. And what the cool thing is, he's doing it with these people that are tenured, experienced, know their way around politics. And like he did one with PBD that I enjoyed, and I'm enjoying this one as well. Although talking with you guys in the chat kind of throws me off a little bit. Still, the cool thing about Nick Fuentes, for him at this age to be going through what he's going through, is he's learning a lot from these people that are experienced, that know what they're doing, and they're giving him good advice. I think it's pretty cool. PBD gave him some good advice, and Tucker right now is I guess he's pushing back a little bit, but in that pushback, there's some points for Nick Fuentes to grow from, and that's fantastic. I really like that, and I'm always doing that myself. I'm always learning, getting better myself. Honestly, when I debate people on chat, when I debate people on the live calls, I learn more. I grow every time I do it. I grow more and more and more. People ask me, how come you talk about politics to your friends all the time and have all these crazy arguments and you guys fight about it and stuff? I tell them, well, I'm learning. Because a lot of I came from the Democratic Party 3 to 4 years ago. I was on the Democratic side. I was arguing against Trump. But I wasn't afraid to talk and have dialogue. And so I learned a lot from that. And that's how I kind of grew out of what I was doing. I was the one out there talking shit on Trump at dinners with my, some of the friends that were on the right. Actually, my fiance and some of her friends, to be honest. I just keep growing. But the more I talk to not only and debate my friends and other people, and the more I have harder, more difficult conversations, the more I'm growing. And I see Nick doing the same thing, but at a much younger age than me. That's actually nice to watch. I like that.
And said, I'm really sorry I called you Hitler. Like, I didn't mean it. You're raising lots of legitimate questions, which I think I sort of agree with or am thinking about in a deeper way. I'd be like, great.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care.
And look, Tucker, that's why I'm sitting here, Right. I mean, because we had a contentious dialogue.
Well, I thought you were a Fed. I
thought you were a Fed.
I was a Fed.
Yeah.
I'm not a Fed. But whatever, I don't care what people think.
We showed each other a badge as we know well.
No, but I thought you were a Fed because I was like, why not? It's not cucking to say you're not talking about all Jews when you oppose a foreign policy position. It's not. There's nothing liberal about that. It's just true. That's the Christian position, okay? And two, why are you attacking like the best people and not the worst people?
Well, yeah. I mean, again, he disavowed me for my views on Israel and said I talk too much about white people and Christianity. And to me, that's like a sincere ideological disagreement.
I get it.
And, same thing with Marjorie. Marjorie fired my guy. She disavowed me. And, and you worked with Blumenthal on that article, but you called me on the phone and we talked.
Yeah. I
and
mean,
we
I was like, what? From my perspective, I mean, this is all so stupid and inside baseball and whatever, but for the record, I was like, first of all, who is this kid? I'm working at Fox News. I'm aware there's an internet, but I'm more out of it than you may appreciate. And I'm like, out of nowhere, attacking this one. I had Joe Kent here to my house and did this interview with him. And I'm always in search of a sincere politician. Don't have to agree on everything, but I really believe sincerity is the whole game. If someone's heart is pure, he will be brave. I always have thought that, and it's turned out to be true. Marjorie's a perfect example. And that's all that matters. If you're afraid inside, if you're weak inside, you will crumble when it matters. So I really felt like, wow, Joe, don't agree with him on everything, of course, but I was like, this guy is really sincere. He's like a good person. And then you show up and you're like, he's a CIA officer and he was a CIA contractor, but like really like crush the guy. And it's like, why of all people, you agree on 90% of stuff, that was my view. And I was like, well, clearly this kid's a Fed.
Right. But you didn't know the whole story.
I didn't. You're absolutely right.
And look, and now that, and I'm not trying to be combative. I think that.
Go ahead. I'm not your.
Listening to Nick Fuentes' whole story now for the second time, because I heard it once on PBD and now hearing it again on Tucker Carlson. I understand him a lot better, and I agree with a lot of stuff he says. I gotta admit, on a lot of things I agree with. Not everything. But I get him. I get where he's coming from on a lot of stuff.
Hurt my feelings.
Here's what I'm trying to say is, now that Marjorie is pushing in the right direction, I absolutely support everything she's saying. And I've not been critical of her at all this year.
Yeah.
Because I think that what she's doing is extremely courageous. And I think you're right. She is sincere.
So it sounds like you're, not to put words in your mouth, but your life experience has left you so stung by the Republican establishment. You don't trust anybody, it sounds like.
Well, no, I mean, these people attacked me when the rules were different, and now they got better, and now I'm good with them. I mean, I'm willing to be good with them, but I think that I don't know if Marjorie still has a problem with me or not.
I don't know. I do know, though, and this is the last criticism I will level, and it's maybe not even your fault, but I I do know that, the coordinated attacks against totally reasonable questions about what's in America's interest and what's not, those are all coordinated by the Israeli government. It's all come to light now. And they're against me. I've always thought I have the world's most moderate position on Israel. Don't hate Israel. Just don't want to get involved in their wars. Don't want to pay for this. Don't want to pay for abortion on demand in a foreign country. Sorry. When we're cutting food stamps on our own, that's outrageous. It's not America first. That's my view. Not embarrassed of it at all. They are totally determined to take me out, I think because I'm reasonable. Who would disagree with that? And call me all these names, the most dangerous anti-Semite, when I'm not even an anti-Semite. And they're not doing that to you because, this is my view, and this is not necessarily your fault, but because they're like, Fuentes discredits the reasonable people because he's always banging on about the Jews. And so he makes everyone else look like a Nazi. And so it's like he's playing a pretty valuable role in the same way that Israel has always funded extremism throughout the Middle East, including Hamas, because it discredits the reasonable people. That's a fact.
Yeah. I would just say I disagree. I mean, because you said the other day, they like me. I don't know what you're talking about when you say that because
I don't know.
Let me just kind of rebut that.
But by the way, I'm not saying you have anything to do with this. I'm just saying I've noticed the phenomenon.
Totally. And I just reject that because they have been messing with me for my entire adult life. I mean, the ADL got me banned on YouTube. The SPLC posted my house on their website.
What do you mean posted your house?
They posted a photo of my house on their website.
How can they do that?
I guess that's a free speech thing.
The SPLC posted a picture of your house on their website?
Yes.
Yep.
When?
In 2022.
That's when someone came to...
Yes, they wrote an article. They said Nick Fuentes bought a building in this city. And they said we interviewed his neighbors and property records reveal this and that. And on the front page, the picture for the article is my house where I live.
That's crazy. And then someone showed up with a gun and tried to kill you at that house?
Yes. So that's why I say, you say, well, they're not doing this to you. It's like the ZOA, the SPLC, the ADL, the Daily Wire. All these groups have been on me for years. So that's news to me if they're really endorsing my activities.
It could just be my perception. But I guess what I'm saying is, as someone who thinks his own views are like completely reasonable, pass every smell test, you could x-ray my soul. I don't think there's a lot of hate in there. And to the extent that they do make me feel hateful, the people who attack me, I do say prayers about it. We're not allowed to hate people as we forgive those who trespass against us. That's like our core prayer. So I just feel like it's I don't know. Am I being paranoid? I feel like going on about the Jews helps the neocons. That's
what about my views do you think are unreasonable if yours are reasonable?
I think, again, I don't think it's cucky. I think it's reality to say that guilt is not inherited. Blood guilt is bad. One of the reasons that I'm mad about Gaza is because the Israeli...
Miss Medication gave me some fruit, dude. Check it out. No. Dang, bro. Look at that. Oh.
The position is everyone who lives in Gaza is a terrorist because of how they were born, including the women and the children. That's not a Western view. That's an Eastern view. That's a non-Christian. That's totally incompatible with Christianity and Western civilization. They say, we're the defenders of Western civilization. Not with that attitude. You're not. Collective punishment is the enemy of Western civilization.
Yeah.
And so I hate that attitude. It's genocidal. The current claims that I'm a cancer, from Ben Shapiro or whatever, we need to be excised from the body of conservatism is a genocidal position that it basically encourages violence, as they well know. The whole thing I hate. So anytime you say a whole group of people is responsible for the sins of some of its members, I'm out.
Yeah, but that's not my view.
It's not. Okay. So tell me your views. Rather than you're one of those people, one of the reasons I wanted to meet you is you're one of those people who is defined by clips.
Yes.
And I'm one of those people also.
Yes.
Right? So I get it. So I'm going to just shut up and you tell me what you actually believe.
Yeah. Well, and listen, I appreciate you saying that because that's just the reality of the media environment we're in. So I don't expect you to know all my views, but I mean, as far as the Jews are concerned, I think that, like I said, you cannot actually divorce Israel and the neocons and all of those things that you talk about from Jewishness, ethnicity, religion, identity. And let me give you like a perfect example. So you say on your show that we need to treat Israel like any other country. And I sort of understand that in principle because Israel is another foreign country.
Yeah.
But Israel is unlike every other country in the sense that because the Jewish people are in a diaspora all over the world, there are significant numbers of Jews in Europe, but also in the United States. And because of their unique heritage and story, which is that they're a stateless people, they're unassimilable, they resist assimilation for thousands of years. And I think that's a good thing. And now they have this territory in Israel. There's a deep religious affection for the state. It's bound up in their identity, the story of the Exodus from Egypt, the promise of the land, all these things. So let's say in the United States, for example,
hell yeah,
somebody
Ruby.
like a Sheldon Adelson, he's not Israeli. Is he an ideological neocon? Does he believe in the promise of democratic globalism? I don't think necessarily. His heart is in Israel. And it's because he is a proud Jewish person. And I guess what I'm saying is that if you are a Jewish person in America, you're sort of, and again, it's not because they're born, but it's sort of a rational self-interest politically to say, I'm a minority. I'm a religious ethnic minority. This is not really my home. My ancestral home is in Israel. There's like a natural affinity that Jews have for Israel. And I would say on top of that, for the international Jewish community. They're extremely organized. And many of them are critical of Israel or Israel's current government or the project of Israel. But I guess what they have in common, unlike, let's say, like Singapore, for example, is that they have this international community across borders, extremely organized, that is putting the interests of themselves before the interests of their home country. And there's no other country that has a similar arrangement like that. No other country has a strong identity like that, this religious blood and soil conviction, this history of being in the diaspora, stateless, wandering, persecuted, and in particular, the historic animosity between the Jewish people and the Europeans. They hate the Romans because the Romans destroyed the temple. That's why Eric Weinstein goes to the Arch of Titus and gives it the finger and takes a picture. We don't think like that as Americans and white people. We don't think about the Roman Empire in 2,000 years ago. They do. And so I guess that's really, and I don't think that's me saying the Jews, the Jews, the Jews. I don't think that's me being hateful. I don't think that's me being collectivist. I think that's understanding that identity politics, whether you love it or hate it, whatever you feel about it, it's a reality that we live in a world of Jews and Christians, of whites and blacks. These identities mean something to us and they mean things to each other, and we can't sort of wish them away. And it feels like white people and Christians are the only ones that do that.
There's no question about that, your last point, for sure. One of the reasons they do that is because they've been taught to hate themselves, of course, since the Second World War. Another reason is, however, the reality of a multi-ethnic country requires you to sort of set aside community or group interests in favor of corporate interests, universal interests, national interests. And you have to do that or else it doesn't work. And so, I agree those attitudes, I mean, certainly in other parts of the world, people think this way, but you can't have that here. And so it's just important to remind everybody that, things may be generally true, but again, they're not always true. And there are people who just strongly disagree. And by the way, in the specific case of Israel, there are a ton of Orthodox who I know who are opposed to the state of Israel. They're they're more Jewish than Dave Rubin, a lot more. And yet they oppose it. Jeff Sachs is like the most a wonderful man, who's Jewish, the most articulate kind of critic of the state of Israel that I'm aware of. So I don't know, that's just meaningful. You can't, if everything is inherited, then there's no hope for the continuation of America. Mm-hmm. Do you see that?
Yeah, I don't.
Of the state of Israel, who are opposed to the state of Israel. They're more Jewish than Dave Rubin, a lot more, and yet they oppose it. Jeff Sachs is like the most a wonderful man, who's Jewish, the most articulate kind of critic of the who are opposed to the state of Israel. They're more Jewish than Dave Rubin, a lot more, and yet they oppose it. Jeff Sachs is like the most a wonderful man, who's Jewish, the most articulate kind of critic of the state of Israel that I'm aware of. So, like, I don't know, that's just meaningful. You can't, if everything is inherited, then there's no hope for the continuation of America. Mm-hmm. Do you see that?
Yeah, I don't think it's genetically inherited. And what you're saying about putting aside the tribal interest for the corporate interest,
yes,
that's absolutely the case. And that's the only way the country's going to stay together.
Exactly.
And
that's my concern.
And I absolutely agree with you. I would say, though, that the main challenge to that, a big challenge to that, is organized Jewry in America. I don't think Bill Ackman is capable of that. I don't think Sheldon Adelson is capable of that. I don't think Yoram Hazony is capable of that, for that matter. And many other, on the right and the left. And I see Jewishness as the common denominator. And you're right. It's not all Jewish people feel the same way. No one would say that, but that does seem to be the common denominator. And I just feel like it needs to be called out explicitly. And I like what you said. The other day, if you're serving in another country's military, this religious blood and soil conviction, if you are a Jewish person in America, you're sort of, and again, it's not because they're born, but it's sort of a rational self-interest politically to say, I'm a minority. I'm a religious ethnic minority. This is not really my home. My ancestral home is in Israel. There's like a natural affinity that Jews have for Israel. And I would say on top of that, for the international Jewish community. They're extremely organized, and many of them are critical of Israel or Israel's current government or the project of Israel. But I guess what they have in common, unlike, let's say, Singapore, for example, is that they have this international community across borders, extremely organized, that is putting the interests of themselves before the interests of their home country. And there's no other country that has a similar arrangement like that. No other country has a strong identity like that, this religious blood and soil conviction, this history of being in the diaspora, stateless, wandering, persecuted, and in particular, the historic animosity between the Jewish people and the Europeans. They hate the Romans because the Romans destroyed the temple. That's why Eric Weinstein goes to the Arch of Titus and gives it the finger and takes a picture. We don't think like that as Americans and white people. We don't think about the Roman Empire in 2,000 years ago. They do. And so I guess that's really, and I don't think that's me saying the Jews. I don't think that's me being hateful. I don't think that's me being collectivist. I think that's understanding that identity politics, whether you love it or hate it, whatever you feel about it, it's a reality that we live in a world of Jews and Christians, of whites and blacks. These identities mean something to us and they mean things to each other, and we can't sort of wish them away. And it feels like white people and Christians are the only ones that do that.
There's no question about that, your last point, for sure. One of the reasons they do that is because they've been taught to hate themselves, of course, since the Second World War. Another reason is, however, the reality of a multi-ethnic country requires you to sort of set aside community or group interests in favor of corporate interests.
Terry, or have dual citizenship. You really can't be a part of this project.
Well, that's an easy one, but I am much more comfortable as a Christian and an American keeping it on that level because it's easy to just set universal rules that apply to everyone, not just the Jews or the Christians or the anybody, just like Americans can only serve in the U.S. military or they lose their passport. I mean, I don't know. That's not hard. And I don't know. Why not just say that?
Say what?
That. Why not make every statement about how Americans ought to behave applicable to all Americans? Like it's the defense of universal values that will hold the country together, and the emphasis on parochial group values that will break it apart inevitably.
Because this is a particular issue and it's acute. Like I said, I think they are unique in that way. I think that's a unique issue, especially in the Republican Party, especially in the conservative scene. And, you know,
So how would you like this all to be resolved?
Interesting question. Guys, thanks for coming in the chat. Hello, Markel, and hello, Rottinghead and Rude. Glad you guys are joining the dialogue. What's he going to say here?
What I would like is for the U.S. government to not be influenced by these kinds of foreign allegiances, not with money that comes from, you know, American citizens like Sheldon Adelson, not from foreign lobbyists. So, I mean, in terms of tangible things, I don't think we disagree on any of it. Like registering APAC and FARA, banning dual citizenship. Like I'm basically in agreement.
I think 80% of the public agrees with those
things.
So that's kind of what gets me a little bit annoyed. It's like, these are, like America First, the concept, it's the most popular, self-evidently true idea you could have. Like, don't let foreign powers, especially tiny ones far away, control your country. Like, of course not. Everyone agrees with that on both sides.
Yeah.
So the trick is not to let that idea get subverted. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think we agree on that.
But it's subverted when they're like, that's hate. No, that's hate. It's not hate.
Yeah. Well, and, you know, here's what I will say. I think that
I want to hear what he said one more time. I'm going to be very clear.
What
I
you're
want to
talking
understand.
about, Sheldon Adelson, not from foreign lobbyists. So, I mean, in terms of tangible things, I don't think we disagree on any of it. Like registering APAC and FARA, banning dual citizenship. Like I'm basically in agreement.
I think 80% of the public agrees with those things. And just like Americans can only
Republican Party, especially in the conservative scene, particular issue, and it's acute. Like I said, I think they are unique in that way. I think that's a unique issue, especially in the Republican Party, especially in the conservative scene. And, you know,
So how would you like this all to be resolved?
What I would like is for the U.S. government to not be influenced by these kinds of foreign allegiances, not with money that comes from, you know, American citizens like Sheldon Adelson, not from foreign lobbyists. So, I mean, in terms of tangible things, I don't think we disagree on any of it. Like registering APAC and FARA, banning dual citizenship. Like I'm basically in agreement.
I think 80% of the public agrees with those things.
So
that's kind of what gets me a little bit annoyed. It's like, these are, like America First, the concept, it's the most popular, self-evidently true idea you could have. Like, don't let foreign powers, especially tiny ones far away, control your country. Like, of course not. Everyone agrees with that on both sides.
Yeah.
So the trick is not to let that idea get subverted. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think we agree on that.
But it's subverted when they're like, that's hate. No, that's hate. It's not hate.
Yeah. Well, and, you know, here's what I will say. I think that there is increasingly a contingent, because what you're talking about exists. When you say that there are people that legitimately detract from this, there is legitimate racial hatred out there.
Big time.
And it's growing. And
I know.
People on our side are afraid to talk about it because they know, like you said, they're going to get called a cuck or a squish or whatever. And I agree with you. The people that are detracting from that need to be called out. And I think there should be no harbor for cruelty, hatred, prejudice, those kinds of things.
And some of them, I'm sorry to be a conspiracy nut. I really try not to be a conspiracy nut because it's embarrassing, you know. But after January 6th and just finding out the number of FBI.
That there is increasingly a contingent, because what you're talking about exists. When you say that there are people that legitimately detract from this, there is legitimate racial hatred out there.
Big time.
And it's growing. And
I know.
People on our side are afraid to talk about it because they know, like you said, they're going to get called a cuck or a squish or whatever. And I agree with you. The people that are detracting from that need to be called out. And I think there should be no harbor for cruelty, hatred, prejudice, those kinds of things.
And some of them, I'm sorry to be a conspiracy nut. I really try not to be a conspiracy nut because it's embarrassing, you know. But after January 6th and just finding out the number of FBI personnel in the crowd, it's like, and I've just seen this. David Duke is a great example. Some of these are the Charlottesville rally. Had a bunch of feds there being like, we're white supremacists. We hate the blacks, you know, using the N-word, whatever. You know, it's like, that's not real. Like, there is some of that going on, don't you think?
I think that I think that there's a lot of sincere people.
Well, for sure. Oh, I completely agree.
You know, and they're just numbskulls, and some of them are legitimately, they see the opening, that there's legitimate critique of this, and they see an opening to air out their grievances.
See ya, boo-boo.
They get a license to, they think it's okay now. And I do think it's important to differentiate and say that fundamentally, I guess the word that I would use, I've been thinking about this a lot lately, is reassurance, because I think there's a legitimate, there is legitimate need to reassure people. And this is kind of what I've been doing on these podcasts, that we don't want to harm anybody. We don't want to kill anybody. We don't want to harm anybody. Right. We just want to put America first. And I guess, you know, to the extent that I've been taken out of context over the years or things like that, I'm trying to set the record straight and say, you know, and I appreciate you've given me this opportunity. These are my real views. I'm not one of those haters, let's say.
Yeah, well, I think people should be allowed to describe what they think.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's like a basic human autonomy question.
Yeah.
Like, if I want to know what you think, I should just ask you and let you talk.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So who's going to be president? Who should be president next?
Who should be president? Well, Ye, of course. Kanye.
You had dinner with Trump.
I did.
And Kanye.
Yes.
What did you think of that?
It was surreal, because those are my two heroes. Those are my two, like, number one heroes of all time. I've always been a Kanye West fan.
You like the music first?
Yes. The music, the fashion, everything.
Really?
Yes.
Do you wear those weird one-piece shoes?
I do.
You actually do?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like in public?
Yes. You don't think that's cool?
No, I do. I don't know what I think.
I'll get you some.
I've worn the same clothes since high school. Don't ask me about clothes. I'm not good at that at all. That's hilarious. So, but you've always been a fan.
Oh,
and
yeah,
then
huge
you
fan.
Described your love for Trump, like sincere
yes,
childhood love for Trump. So what was it like to find yourself at dinner with them?
It was funny because it was literally Thanksgiving dinner. It was 3 days before Thanksgiving. So not only was it dinner, but I'm having Thanksgiving dinner with Ye and Trump at the same table. And these are like my heroes. And, I mean, the way that it went was sort of interesting. Ye is sort of shy. He deeply admires Trump. He loves Trump. And I like that about him, because Ye really admires anybody that's an industrialist. He loves builders, visionaries, architects. He's very into that. So he has a deep regard for Trump. And so at the beginning, it was a little awkward because he wouldn't talk. And he was sort of shy.
Ye.
Yes. Which is surprising, right? Because he's so outspoken. But Trump was trying to get him to talk. And it was kind of like a boomer moment, because Trump was trying to get him to talk about like opportunity zones. He was giving him like the black voter pitch, you know, the black Republican.
Really?
Pitch. Yeah. And I was like, dude, like, he's not that kind of Republican, to say the least, you know.
Fair.
At this point, I think people know
So what
that.
were you saying?
Well, so eventually, you know, Trump didn't have a lot of luck with him. So he's kind of fielding the table and he's talking to me. And
Trump does like other people to talk.
Yes. Well, he likes to talk too.
He does, for sure.
Yeah.
But he asks questions.
Yeah, he does.
More than you would think.
Well, he's a good guy, fundamentally.
Yeah.
He's a very warm guy. So he was asking everybody, you know, what's up and who are you? And we got to talking. And, you know, I guess it was going too well because I was being very complimentary of Trump. And Ye was kind of kicking me and saying, like, you know, a couple days prior, we were talking about if Trump and Ye wind up on the debate stage, what is that going to look like? And I was coaching Ye, like, these are his weak areas. Like, this is where we got to attack Trump. And so Ye was like, tell him what you were saying the other day. Tell him what you were saying last night. And I was like, dude, that's our playbook. Like, we don't want to blow up our... and Trump was like, go ahead, don't be bashful. Tell me, what is it? And I said, you know what? I said, I think you're one of the greatest living Americans. I said, I'm a young guy. I said, I really have nothing to say other than thank you. I have nothing but gratitude for what you've done for the country. I said, it's really not my place, you know, to give you advice or correct you. And he said, no, don't be bashful. Tell me. And the story that I brought up was, this was really what sent me. In the first Fox News debate in 2015, in the Republican primary,
yes,
Brett Baer, the first question, said, raise your hand if you will not pledge to support the eventual nominee.
Yes.
And Trump raised his hand. Because that's what he was saying. He said, if I don't win, I'll run independent and I'll make Republicans lose. And so I brought that up and I told that story and I said, I feel like what was inspiring in 2016 is that you were willing to let the Republican establishment lose. Like you were serious about blowing them up, such that you are not going to say, like Pat Buchanan, who I respect, but Sam Francis acknowledged that was one of his great mistakes, was ultimately endorsing Bush. I said, it showed you were serious. You were playing to win, because you said, I will let this Republican Party crash and burn. I want to run as the Republican, but if I can't, I'll run independent. I said, and that's how I knew you were serious. And that's how I knew you were the guy. I said, and I feel like lately, this was right after Ronna McDaniel became the head of the RNC again. I was like, I feel like lately you're just behind all these people. I said, we're not here for Kevin McCarthy. We're not here for Ronna McDaniel or Mitch McConnell. I said, we are here for you. Like, we will die for you. We are loyal to you. I said, and when you did that, that showed you could win, and we rallied. I said, so I want to see more like that. I want to see you hit DeSantis, let's say, who is running against him. And he was like, oh, okay. He goes, oh, so you like that? It was right after he called them DeSanctimonious.
Yeah.
I said, that was awesome. You should have kept hitting him. He's like, oh, you like that? He goes, this guy's hardcore. I like this guy, he was saying about me. And so I was trying to just get his mojo back, and, gas him up a little bit. And so that's how it went between me and him.
And what was Ye saying at this point?
Well, he was beaming with pride, because Trump turns to him and says, who is this guy? This guy's great. And Ye was like, right? And I was like, this is amazing.
Did you call your parents from the parking lot?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You'll never believe. Yeah.
I try never to think like, how will this be perceived? It's better just to like be as honest as you can be all the time. And and honest people will respond, agree or disagree, but they'll feel your sincerity and your honesty. But there are always people who are going to like distort it. And I recounted basically the Christian gospel at Charlie Kirk's memorial service, and everyone's like, "You're an anti-Semite." I literally didn't have one thought about Jewish people. It had nothing to do with that. It was whatever. So, but I was thinking about this conversation, which I'm sure can't imagine what that in the ways that it'll be distorted. But I do hope that people who want to learn what's happening and who you are will watch the whole thing. It's probably naive hope that it won't be reduced to whatever you're saying something naughty and me laughing and see, they're both Nazis. I mean, that's going to happen, of course. But I'm willing to take that risk because I just think it's important to know you're clearly ascendant. You're enormously talented. You're more talented than I am, for sure, as a talker. So, and there have been a lot of attempts to silence you and it hasn't worked. So my calculation, I'll just be as blunt as I can be, is like, do I want to have Fuentes on? Everyone's going to be like, but you're a Nazi just like Fuentes. Okay. But then I'm like, I don't think Fuentes is going away. Ben Shapiro tried to like strangle him in the crib in college, and now he's bigger than ever. So it probably would just be worth hearing what Nick Fuentes thinks. I just want to be transparent about my motives here.
Yeah.
So those are my motives. Let me ask you, I referred earlier to the assassination attempt against you, and it's at risk because I just think it's important to know that people who want to learn what's happening and who you are will watch the whole thing. It's probably naive hope that it won't be reduced to whatever you're saying something naughty and me laughing and see, they're both Nazis. I mean, that's going to happen, of course. But I'm willing to take that risk because I just think it's important to know you're clearly ascendant. You're
what's going on? Let's just get back to, okay. So what's the deal? What did he say about Charlie Kirk? I didn't see what Tesh said about Charlie Kirk, but he's starting to do all caps and just talk nonsense about Grindr and GOP and pedos, and he's on some kind of weird rant or thing right now. I think his meds are like running low. Did he say something about Charlie Kirk? Someone said he
enormously talented. You're more talented than I am, for sure, as a talker. So, and there've been a lot of attempts to silence you and it hasn't worked. So my calculation, I'll just be as blunt as I can be, is like, sort of want to have Fuentes on. Everyone's going to be like, but you're a Nazi just like Fuentes. Okay. But then I'm like, I don't think Fuentes is going away. Ben Shapiro tried to like strangle him in the crib in college, and now he's bigger than ever.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it probably would just be worth hearing what Nick Fuentes thinks.
Thanks, Jen. Jen booted him.
I want to be transparent about my motives here.
Yeah.
So those are my motives. Let me ask you, I referred earlier to the assassination attempt against you, and it's very fashionable, among like the permanent victim class, like every, BLM leader was, they're trying to kill me, or Seth, whatever, from the Babylon Bee, people are trying to kill me, and people use threats against them, which are like daily for a lot of us, as a way to kind of make themselves unassailable or immune from criticism, or to attack their enemies. Your words inspired violence. What is...
Tough luck is correct. The Democrats did, the Democrat founders, Democrat leaders, or the leaders of the Democratic Party were the founders of the KKK. That is true. And the Democrats were the ones that were in opposition of the abolition of slavery. Democrats did not want to get rid of slavery. They were the ones that fought it.
Stochastic terror. I can't even pronounce it. It's like some academic term, whatever. But you had a real assassination attempt, like an actual one, which got no publicity that I recall. What happened?
Yeah, well, it was after the election last year. I put out this tweet and I said, your body, my choice on election night. And, I wasn't, look, I'm not going to apologize for it, but I thought it was like a weak joke. It's like a lame joke. It's kind of like the most obvious turn of phrase.
It's a college joke. Yeah, it's kind of funny.
So I had other good jokes that night, but that was like the one that caught on because I just think it captured the imagination of liberals who were like, it's over for us, which it kind of is, but in some ways. But so I put that out there. I didn't even vote for Trump, but I put that tweet out.
Who did you vote for?
I didn't vote at all. I just recused myself. But that's just what makes it ironic because I became in some ways emblematic of the election, even though I didn't participate. But so it got 100 million impressions on Twitter, and people were saying on the news that kids were saying it in school. It was on like the news that in middle schools and high schools, the boys were saying that to the girls, your body, my choice. So it became this thing where it's like, he's creating this toxic environment for women. So the internet lost its mind, and people then started posting my address online because they were so unhappy with the tweet. And so on TikTok and on Twitter, a screenshot of my address, my phone number, all my personal information, it went viral. And when I say viral, I mean there were multiple tweets that got 20 million views with my whole readout, all my information.
Like your actual address, where you spend the night?
Yes, where I live, where I do my show.
Big Apache, what are you talking? What is he lying about? This is literally what happened.
All of it.
Damn, did you know that?
Yeah, I started to see it. So the election Tuesday, obviously, it was like Thursday that my address starts blowing up. I was going to do a show Friday, and someone shows up to my house. Some weird looking guy shows up to my house and just walks through the yard, walks through the gangway into the backyard, and is just circling my house and then goes away. So we call the cops, me and my producer, and we said, maybe we shouldn't do a show tonight. And that weekend, we hired private security just for the weekend, like 200 people.
You didn't have security?
No, I don't have security. Well, I didn't then.
Of any kind?
I didn't have cameras or anything even. I had nothing.
Okay.
I was raw dogging it. Yeah, which was not smart, maybe, but never had a problem like that.
I've always lived that way too.
Yeah. But so that weekend, we hired a security guard just to park his car outside the house and monitor things. Literally 200 people came.
To your house?
Yes. Not all at once.
Tough luck. Free speech is welcome, but if they're going to go, lose it or just do trolling, all caps and saying bad things, calling people pedos and all kinds of nonsense just over and over again, it's not cool. And if you're going to talk shit about, someone that died, Charlie Kirk or something like that, you're trying to do something. We're not down for that, bro.
But one after the other. Driving by, yelling, walking by, throwing eggs. Multiple people threw eggs at my house, ordering pizzas, ordering DoorDash, whatever, walking through the gangway. It was like a war zone. Like this security guard was yelling at people all night, and it went on all weekend. And then it went on throughout the next week and the next weekend. And it was bad. I got out of my house. I went to a hotel for a week while this was happening, waited for it to blow over.
You do your show from the hotel?
No, I took a week off.
Wow. Did you announce any of this in public?
No, I had to keep it very...
Why?
I didn't want to track more of it.
Yeah.
Because if you say, oh, they're here, then people go, oh, no, we got to keep up the pressure, or turn it up. And people at that time were talking about burning my house down. Like on TikTok, there were viral videos of people saying, we're going to burn his house down. And then they doxed my parents' address. People are showing up to my parents' house.
Wow.
It got really bad. And eventually it just blew over. About a month passed. And at that time,
and guys, this stuff is all real. I saw this. This was in the news. There's videos, pictures, articles. This is all real.
Like late December. It's actually funny. It was December 18th. I remember because that's an important date to me.
Why?
And it's Joseph Stalin's birthday.
Oh.
I'm a fan.
You're a fan of Stalin's?
Mm-hmm. I was an admirer. But we don't need to go into that. I guess.
Well, that's... Okay, let's get back to it. We'll circle back to that.
It was weird because the reason I mentioned that, it was almost like, because I woke up that day and I was like, oh, it's December 18th. And I was just like very acutely aware of like, today's like a strange day. This is the day that the attempt happened. And so nothing had been happening for weeks at this point. So election's like what, November 3rd, month and a half has passed. Nobody's coming to my house anymore, rarely. And I'm doing my show like normal, and I'm reaching the end of the show, and I see out of the corner of my eye, I get an alert from my Ring doorbell camera that somebody's at the front door. And so I'm reading through my super chats. I'm going through live
You're
chat
on the
messages.
air.
Yeah, I'm live. And, I'm working through the messages, and I'm keeping an eye on it, and I see that this guy has a loaded gun. The guy's
standing. Laugh.
Yeah, well.
So you're live, and
Yes.
you see that there's a guy with a gun outside your door.
Yes. He's got a motorcycle helmet and a backpack. He's got a gun drawn, and he's knocking on the door yelling.
There's actual footage of this. And the guy actually has a semi-automatic, like a bow and arrow next with him, in addition to his gun.
And the thing is, I didn't want to tip him off that I knew he was there, because I thought, I don't want him to get the drop on me or something. I just didn't want to give him any information about, because I don't know if he's listening to my show. If I start freaking out or cancel the show, I don't know. Maybe he knows more about my movements inside. So I keep the show going for like a minute, and I wrap it up very quickly. I finish the show. My producer comes running in, and I say, who is that? What's going on? And he goes, oh, I called the cops. They're here. The guy's gone. I said, okay, good. So I start getting changed out of my suit, and I hear gunshots go off outside.
Damn.
Yeah. And I literally like jumped to the ground because I'm like, I don't know what's happening here. And I step outside for a minute after the dust kind of settles, and there's like 10 cop cars all up and down the street, and they have the whole block locked down. Police tape everywhere. There's like a dozen cops. Like I said, the whole block is shut down. The alley is shut down. And they go, get back inside, get back inside. We have no idea what's going on. We have no idea what happened. And they wouldn't let me or my producer leave until the morning. That's how late they were there. And finally, at the end of the night, after all the cops left, I came out in the very early morning.
Did no one come and explain any of this to you?
No, nobody said anything. Yeah, it's ridiculous. And finally, I go out in the morning and I asked the guy, oh, okay, what happened? He told me the story. And so it turns out that it's this young guy. He's 23 years old, white.
This is a crazy story. Chelsea, I didn't read all of what you wrote there, but Chelsea says, thanks, Warrior. I still cry whenever I remember Charlie. He helped bring me home. I pray everyone in this chat and in this country finds love of Jesus. It's hard to not take the bait on Charlie. I know that it wounds us. Yeah. Absolutely. We need to keep screaming these words. If you have to silence with a gun and not words, you are the fascists. Exactly. The power of the internet to dox and attack people. I admittedly hide behind my keyboard. Yep, I agree. I agree, Chelsea. W. Chelsea.
Nerd.
Yeah.
Short guy. He was at U of I, University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign, about 2 hours.
Chelsea, I tried to make a video after he died like 3 times in a row. I just sat there and re-recorded the video over and over to try to do it without crying. And I literally just couldn't. I just said, screw it. And I just did the video and I just cried through the whole video. And it's one of the very few times in my life that I can remember crying. It's a bizarre thing. Absolutely nuts. It's on my YouTube channel, but and on my Instagram too.
Or south of where I live. He killed 3 people earlier in the day.
But Charlie was a major inspiration for me. He is the reason why I actually went to a few local universities and did exactly what he did. I set up a debate table with microphones and cameras. I did it all myself, by myself. I still have all the equipment, and I debated people, and it's pretty much the reason why I'm doing this. And I bring people on and I'll give them a chance to speak publicly and give them basically a way to get their voice heard if they want. So he's a big influence in my life and will always be. There's a lot of things I did. Charlie Kirk is another major reason why I went out. I still to this day go out and do public interviews live. You guys can pull up my videos on my YouTube channel. I go out live with a camera in my hand and I talk to people live, unfiltered. And so Charlie is a major reason why I literally did what he did because of him. It was fun. I mean, he was just one of those guys. I have a lot to say. It's just he was. There's nobody like him. He's unmatched. He's just what a wonderful person. And there's just too much to say.
Went to his roommate's house, college roommate's house, killed his roommate, killed the sister, the guy.
Listen, the guy that came to Nick Fuentes' house, listen to what he did. Listen to this. This is insane.
3 people earlier in the day. At U of I, University, ridiculous. And finally, I go out in the morning and I ask the guy,
listen to this.
Oh, okay, what happened? He told me the story. It's what turns out that it's this young guy. He's 23 years old, white nerd.
He's talking about the guy that came to his house to kill him.
Short guy. He was at U of I, University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign, about 2 hours south of where I live. He killed 3 people earlier in the day. He went to his roommate's house, college roommate's house, killed his roommate, killed the sister.
This is the second time Richard just comes in the chat and talks a bunch of shit, doesn't respond and back it up. He has no response when I asked him last time. And he's just one of those losers.
Sister.
Feel free to explain yourself.
The guy's mother got in his car and drove directly to my house. Parked outside my house, got out at U of I, University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign, about 2 hours south of where I live. Listen to what this guy did. He killed 3 people earlier in the day. He went to his roommate's house, college roommate's house, killed his roommate, killed the sister, the guy's mother, got in his car and drove directly to my house, parked outside my house, got out a .22 pistol, and an automatic crossbow. Weird choice. And he knocked on the door, which is where I saw him. He went around the house. He tried the back door, tried the front door, and the cops pulled up. He took off running through the gangway, hopped the fence, ran into the neighbor's house. I guess he went into the neighbor's basement because the door was unlocked. He was hiding from the police. He shot 2 of their dogs. which is devastating. He runs back outside, and the cops see him. He shoots at the cops. The cops shot him in the face, and he dies on the spot.
What was his motive?
They never told me. To this day, I have no idea.
They never told you?
No.
So what contact did you have with the police after this?
They came by about a week later. Illinois State Police came to retrieve the ring camera footage of the whole incident. And so they had me download that onto a thumb drive. And that's it. I never heard from the cops, never heard from the government.
Not at all?
No, nothing.
A guy comes to murder you. He's murdered 3 other people and 2 dogs. He gets shot to death, and no one bothers to tell you anything?
Nope, nothing.
Is it really a country?
Those killings didn't happen on his block. The guy did that somewhere else and then drove over to his house and did all that stuff.
At this point?
No.
I mean,
it's ridiculous. And
so what was his motive? Do you have any idea?
I have no idea. So the story that I read online, because obviously the news followed up on this, and they said that, so he was like 5'5". I guess he was involved with drugs, actually, with his roommate. They sold drugs together, something like that. They had a falling out over the drug money or something like that. The roommate beat the shit out of him so bad he dropped out of school. He had this major falling out with the roommate, but they were close, had a big falling out. The shooter took him to small claims court over some money. And I guess this guy was just in a downward spiral. He lost his job. He got in a hit and run crash and ran from the police. Then he was swearing at the cops when they showed up to arrest him. And I guess his life just kept getting worse and worse and worse. I assume he took it out on the roommate and popped off.
Yeah.
Killed the whole family.
It's horrifying, but how do you fit into that?
So this is just my opinion, speculation. This is like a month after Luigi Mangione. He had on and the shooter at my house had on a motorcycle helmet and like a costume. And so I think he was maybe like a copycat of Luigi Mangione. He thought he was going to
all good. Go for it, Jen. Do it.
Be like a hero and assassinate some reviled political figure who was going viral at that time, being hated for that tweet. So I think that might have been the motive, but that's pure speculation. I have no idea.
I mean, it's a well-documented fact that all kinds of bad actors use unstable people for political assassinations, right? It's happened. We know it's happened.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think this might be an example of that?
I don't think so, but it's certainly possible. The reason I say I don't think so.
It's kind of funny. I mean, I think of you as conspiracy-minded, but you don't have a conspiracy in mind here.
No, because I really believe that when you look at all these things, and by these things, I mean these like really disturbing instances of violence like Luigi Mangione or Charlie Kirk or these school shootings, there is something going on with these kids. It's nihilism. It's these people that are maybe mentally defective, extremely online. I think there's like a real problem there. And I don't doubt that sometimes these people are involved with maybe a foreign government or they're being groomed or put up to it by an operative. But I think to assume that it's always that ignores that, like, there's a very real problem of nihilistic, surrealist violence that comes from young people. And, you know, like this guy it's a triple homicide out of nowhere. And then he tries to kill me. I think he just went crazy, but I could be wrong.
Describe the circumstances that have led.
That's crazy, guys. Holy cow. Chelsea, love to hear that. Love to hear that. And then, guys, it's 11:45 in Southern California. It's getting close to bedtime, and I got some work to do on my businesses as well before I go to bed. I always do handle admin stuff and prep for the day, for the next day. So I'm going to call it a night, and then I'm going to jump back on tomorrow morning. Guys, thank you for coming along. We had a great chat today. We had a lot going on. Nobody had the guts to call in, and that's okay. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and call it a night so I can get around to all this stuff and do what we gotta do. Hello to everyone and goodbye to everyone in the chat. Sean, Steve, Chelsea, Tough Luck, Mac, Ron, Steve, Jen, when you come back, Ruby, Jonah, Yeah, Chelsea and everybody, dude. Thank you guys, Steve. Dude, thank you guys so much. That was a good night. Appreciate you guys. Love you guys. And we're doing good, man. We're 7,700 subscribers. We increased 50% week over week last time. Not sure if we can do that again, but we'll see how it goes. But definitely moving and grooving. So thank you guys, and we'll have some more fun. I'll be back on tomorrow. Almost 8K. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Thank you guys, and have a good night. Love you guys. Bye.